پہ کیوں آیا نہیں آئیے نہیں لوپ میں آیا رک جاؤ ہاں ایسے کریں بس آئے گا تو نظر آئے گا بھائی بول رہا ہاں ٹلے کے ساتھ صحیح ہے صحیح
یہ میرے مائنڈ میں تھا بہت
Hello. So, मेरा नाम BHICTV और तमाम हजरात का टीम का गुजारने से आप लोग यहाँ पे तशरीफ लाए डॉक्टर साहब को सुनने के लिए मिलने के लिए और हमारी बैठक का सिलसिला मुहर्रम और सफर के बाद ढाई घंटे के बाद शुरुआत की डॉक्टर साहब के बारे में यकीनन मैं क्या कहूँ स्टूडेंट्स से आप बताया नहीं जा सकता और दिखाने वाले को जगह मिलेगी होती है सिर्फ आप लोगों को चंद चीज़ें आपके दिलों में ताज़ा करना चाहता हूँ डॉक्टर साहब के हवाले से कि डॉक्टर साहब को उन्होंने पाकिस्तान में सिखाया इतिहास में उसके अलावा एक और बहुत खास चीज़ जो डॉक्टर साहब के हवाले से है और वो ये है कि कैनेडियन सेनेट इनको 150 इनोवेटर्स में कंसिडर किया और उसके हिसाब से फॉरवर्ड किया जो कि मेरे ख्याल में कुछ आप मुझे क्रेडिट कर सकते हैं मेरे ख्याल में शायद अब तक किसी मुस्लिम के पास तो मेरे ख्याल में कैनेडियन मुस्लिम के पास ये अवार्ड नहीं था डॉक्टर साहब कैनेडियन मुस्लिम के सिलसिले के अंदर डॉक्टर साहब के बारे में डेफिनेटली बहुत सारी चीज़ें जानना चाहेंगे लेकिन मैं एक बात जो मैं सोच रहा था और मैं डॉक्टर साहब से बात भी की इस हवाले से और वो ये थी कि डॉक्टर साहब ने ब्रेन कंप्यूटर इंटरफेस टेक्नोलॉजी के ऊपर काम किया तो अगर डॉक्टर साहब को ये कहा जाए कि ये वाली सीना है इतने सीना है ब्रेन कंप्यूटर इंटरफेस टेक्नोलॉजी की जिसकी दुनिया में आज आप दुनिया जहाँ पे AI को देख रहे हैं और AI में मुख्तलिफ किस्म के काम कर रहा है और वो सारी चीज़ें इसी बुनियाद पर उन्हें फ्यूचर के लोग इंटरफेस के लोग जा सकते हैं तो मैं जरूरत दूंगा डॉक्टर साहब को कि वो हमारे पास आए सलमान कर देगा
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अस्सलाम वालेकुम आप सबको जश्न ईद मिलाद-उन-नबी मुबारक हो और सादगन बहुत मुबारक हो ये बहुत ही मुबारक महीना है और अपनी मरतबा के बारे में जिन्होंने खुद आपने कहा था कि अव्वल मा खलक़ल्लाहु नूर सबसे पहले मेरा नूर खल्क़ किया गया और फिर अल्लाह ने ये कहा कि अगर आपकी ज़ात मखसूस न होती तो मैं ये कायनात की खल्क़ न करता कभी ताहा का कभी यासीन ये दो ऐसे AI सुपर और सुप्रीम AI के कोड्स हैं कि जिनका हमें मतलब नहीं मालूम और इसी तरह से अलिफ लाम मीम जैसे कोड्स हैं हमें इसका मतलब नहीं मालूम लेकिन it could actually be out of Einstein's theory of relativity E is equal to mc square जो मौला का ज़हूर होगा कि सारी डिकोडिंग जब होगी तो हमारी समझ में आएगा पहले ये तो हमारे सामने था why is it that we did not pay attention to all of this what would you like me to say is it you prefer in Urdu or in English I can switch both
दोनों के अंदर उर्दू की है वो ज़्यादा आसान होगी
okay and I will actually share some of the things that you may have never heard in terms of, you know, Malay Kainat's Fazilat as to why he is called Jumullah, Lisanullah, Ainullah. And I will scientifically, through quantum physics, prove to you that these titles are so befitting with Malay Kainat. And also, I think it will be important to first maybe talk to you. And you know, Roosevelt once said that I don't give them hell, I just tell them the truth. They think it is hell. So I think you need to really realize as youth as to what it is that you need to do. So for youth, you are 1.4 billion on this planet between the age of 7 and 24. So you are a large number, almost 40% of the human population is of that age. Just remember. And as you come into the job market, there will be 200 million youth every year coming into the job market. The world is not creating 200 million jobs a year. So it's really, really important that you position yourself in such a way that you stay ahead of the game. And it's not really a rocket science. Our Naweed have given us as to what the mandate of Shia youth or mandate of our people ought to be. And I would like to actually take you through that journey through the actual institutes of our Naweed. This is Calgary, if you've ever been to. We always find the ways to get out of trouble. But I think the purpose really that we discuss or we talk about is that we are the people, we are the nation, where the first message that was delivered to us was Iqra. And that is really what the mandate is. In Khatmi Martaba, Prophet, peace be upon him, he did not say that I am in the city of Taqwa, I am in the city of Salat, I am in the city of this. He said, Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Alil Babaha. So he actually said, I'm the city of knowledge. And this is what the actual Shia of our community, our youth, you need to aspire to be the best that you can be. So when people look at you from a distance, they say, this child belongs to the family of the doors of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. That's really what our mission ought to be in life. Why these particular sessions? You know, and I'm indebted to Baba Hawaii organization for giving me the opportunity to be with you this afternoon. So we say that, you know, the services, the rent we pay for the privilege of being part of a great community. So we, belong to a community, particularly Shia community, and as long as we live, it is our privilege to do whatever we can to raise the tide so that all boats come up. And this is something that's really important, is that for community to be able to really uplift everybody as you go along. And somebody asked Imam Naweed alayhi salam, as to which profession should I choose or opt to. And Imam Naweed alayhi salam said that choose a profession where you can create sustenance for other people as well. So I think our people also need to really think about exploring business and then really business ventures. And at the end of the day, as a youth, you really want to think that you would like to be thoroughly used up when actually times come. None of us are as smart as all of us. This is also important that for you to realize that you need to really tap into your community, folks who have strengths in the leadership. A child of, a young age was trying to lift a big rock and he couldn't. Father was watching him for an hour, and after a while he gave up. He's sweating. He comes up to his dad and says, sorry dad, I couldn't lift that big boulder. And then the dad said, are you sure you used all your strength? He said, look, I'm sweating. He said, no, you did not use all your strength. You did not ask me for help. So, whenever you have issues, and there are really tremendous issues among our youth, unfortunately, for mental health problems. Our younger generation is suffering because they feel disconnected. And after COVID-19, people have really gotten into the boxes. And that is, we are here to help. If you have any issue related to any subject, there is so much expertise. I think this was really the idea, the great, brilliant idea was to bring youth and also the Baithak folks at the same page so that we can really come to solve problems that we deem are our collective problems. So it's really also important for our community to get the right people in the room. That's an important thing as well. And services, the rent that we pay for the privilege of being part of a great community. So when you are in the center or around the center, step up and help out any which way that you can. Because this is how you will deposit in the emotional bank account of our senior folks So you have an account, and if you ever have to withdraw, you have an account. But if there is nothing in the bank, every check that you will write will bounce. So it's really important for you to be able to do this. So these are really the take-home message that we thought that it will be thought-provoking and important for you to really. And so what is the take-home message in case you fall asleep? The take-home really message is it's okay to be wrong, right? So don't be, afraid of failing. If you want to succeed, I say double the rate of your failures. And if you are afraid of failing at anything that you try, then you have not really tried anything. It's really important. So don't let anybody tell you that this is not possible. A kid who used to live on the farm, and he had a little dog. And what he would do is that he would throw the ball, the dog will fetch it, he will throw the stick, the dog will bring it back. And then he decided to go hunting. So on his farm, he had a pond. So the ducks arrived, he shot one of the duck fell, and he asked the dog to go and fetch it. But he was really surprised to see that instead of swimming, the dog walked on water. Walked on water, fetched the duck, and he brought, and the kid said, "Oh my God, incredible. But nobody's going to believe me, what should I do?" And he called the next time his neighbor farmer, he said, "Come and we'll go hunting." Ducks arrived. He asked his friend neighbor to shoot. The duck fell, the dog went, and he fetched, and he said to his neighbor, "Did you see? Did you see?" He said, "You know what? I didn't want to hurt your feeling. Your dog doesn't know how to swim." So this is how people will treat you in the life. They will not see your strengths, your qualities that you have. Instead, they will think of, what the weaknesses there are. Do not listen to that at all, okay? You are the best that the human race has ever created. You're smart, you're sharp, you are intelligent, you're bright. You don't even go to library. Library comes to your handheld device. So when you are blessed and bestowed with so many great things, it's really incumbent upon you to be the best that you can be. The other thing we'll really like to talk is that if you have done it right all the time, you're probably wrong. These are all the secrets of being a researcher or a scientist or a scholar, that you should not be. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. The problem in our community is just to make a cup of tea, we start boiling the ocean, right? It's never going to boil, we'll never have tea. So in many cases, I would really strongly urge that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And if you don't know where you're going, you're actually going nowhere. So it's really, really important to find out what it is that you really want. The thing is that the wind blows in one direction, but two sailboats can go in completely opposite direction. It all depends how you set your sail, but no wind is a good wind unless you know your harbor. It's really important that you decide what it is that you really want out of your life. And I would also suggest that the one day in library will save you 3 months in the lab or any facility. So do your homework, read up. A person who doesn't read is no better than a person who cannot read. So make reading a habit. Do not just get sucked into the monologue that we do at our centers most of the time. So really have a dialogue, have a two-way communication. And as I said, if you wish to succeed, double the rate of your failure. And also, it doesn't matter what you really have, right? It's what you do with what you have. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam did not go to a medical school, but he was still heal and cure. It's not the degree, it's not PhD, it's not an MD. It's the compassion and passion that you really need to invoke on. Absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. If somebody says that show me where God is, show me where Imam Mahdi, alayhi salam is, always remember that the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. And in society, service is the rent we pay for the privilege of being part of a great community. And your mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. So have an open mind. right? Don't close your mind for anything. And the best way to make your dream come true is to wake up, right? Wake up. If you kept sleeping, you could say that I just had a brilliant dream and I'm going to go back to sleep. There is no way that you will be able to realize that dream. So I think it's really important. So these are the takeaway message. And I can also tell you that no one can be a rocket scientist. It's okay. It's nothing wrong. Nobody can go to Harvard, but everyone is capable of being honest and a decent human being. I think this is what the teachings of our Masubins have been. Data is not information. Information is not knowledge. Knowledge is not wisdom. Wisdom requires conscience. And the only way you can actually get access to your conscience is through our Prophet, peace be upon him, and Masumeen alayhi salam. That is where their task is to purify and clean your conscience. But for the rest, you can actually be a decent human being. So the important thing also to remember is that who we are and what defines us as a community. We worship no one but Allah. Okay? We are the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. We derive our inspirations from Quran and the family of our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him. This is where our affiliation and our association is. Azadari is our life and wilayat is our zina. These are really the important aspects of this. Azadari is our jugular vein. This is the basic foundation for who we really are. Knowledge is our treasure and wisdom is our heritage. It's also important to remember that knowledge is our asset and our property. Madalis, they are our universities. No one in the world has a university where you have children, ladies, women, young, old, people sitting, and the subjects that are being taught, anything from Quran, from Hadith, from history, from literature, from science. No other university offers you such a really platform to learn so many things. And service to humanity is our mandate. And we like to live in peace with the fellow human beings. This is one of the reasons that I'm so proud to be a Shia. You will never hear about a Shia terrorist or an extremist who blew himself up. We are peace-loving people who actually live in the society and serve the society for the greater good of the entire humanity. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he said, these are really important takeaways. Knowledge and wisdom are merely the privilege of faithful Muslim. If you have lost it, get it back, even if you have to get it from a non-believer or an apostate. He also said a mind without sober thoughts and a life without program of honest work is the most fertile soil for the seeds of wickedness and vice. To work with nobility of purpose is one of the forms of worship. Imam Ali has described actually honest earning, honest living as the major mandate, as an act of worship among all the Muslims. Then he goes on to say, work, work, and work while you're still alive. Health and opportunities, Allah ordains you to work while there is still time to work, and work for the betterment of mankind. So I think the gain is to pool our resources to be able to serve the community and humanity for the better. Jesus Christ never went to medical school, as I said, and he was also the first experiment of human cloning, where Allah cloned an individual just from mother, right? So it also opens up your minds to so many other things. Imam Ali also said that knowledge is power, and it commands obedience. A man of knowledge during his lifetime can make people obey and follow him, and he is praised and venerated after his death. So when you do research or you publish books or articles, they will always be in the library. So you will still continue to live forever, because you are living in those books. And I think this is what our Imams have done. Your superiority over others is really the preparation to the extent of your knowledge and wisdom. So it's also really important. Your superiority is contingent upon you having knowledge and wisdom. So you can see that Imams are telling us time and again as to what it is that we have to do as youth, especially, and as an ummah to be able to really make a difference in the life. Knowledge that remains only on your tongue, Mawla says that this is superficial. It has really no value. So you need to take your knowledge and put it into practice. And I think that's something that we don't do very well. We shy away or we hesitate to share our knowledge, but nobody is willing to listen. Imam Ali also said that one who takes lessons from the events of life gets the vision. It's really important. And then he says the one who acquires vision becomes wise, and one who attains wisdom achieves knowledge. Again, knowledge is really the fundamental cornerstone of our real existence and identities as Shia. Now, there are many educated people who have ruined their faith on account of the ignorance of religion. So Imam brings us back to centers in Imam Bargas and Majalis to be able to actually make sure that you do not abandon your faith and your religion for the sake of just really acquiring knowledge. So it's really an integrated aspects where both aspects have to really come true to shape you up as a true follower of Ahlul Bayt. So this is something really important. Imam Ali also said, he said that the most complete gift of God is life based on knowledge. You know, again, if you read the ahadith of Masumi, knowledge after knowledge after knowledge, this is what should define us, who we really are. The learned man, he says, understands the ignorant, for he once was ignorant himself. And somebody asked Imam Ali alayhi salam, how much knowledge should I acquire? Imam Ali said, at least that much so you can appreciate and recognize your ignorance. You know, this is such a profound statement. And somebody, you know, Socrates or Aristotle, they have written books about, you know, what is the relationship between body and soul. And somebody asked Imam Ali alayhi salam, what is the relationship between body and soul? Imam Ali said the same, that a word has fixed meaning. Right, 2 words. And what he does, he defines all of those aspects in such a profound way. And he said that knowledge gives life to soul. To respect the learned is to respect God. I think this is also what we do, is we're trying to really curse and put down our learned scholars who are actually the educators who work so hard. You may not agree with the interpretation of what they say, but I think as good ikhlaq, good moral codes of conduct, they deserve to be respected. And he said, practice actually makes knowledge perfect. The value of man lies in what he has mastered. So, and every time you master something, raise the bar to go up to. Now I'm going to now scare you, maybe shake some people, and I have some of the very important colleagues and friends, my brothers in faith sitting here. Often really, when we discuss about Imam Ali, the word comes up that he is Anullah, Jubullah, Lisanullah, Wajhullah. All these attributes, why are those attributes described? We think about the Prophet said that, oh Ali, your association with me is like what Musa was, Harun was to Musa, except Illallah Nabi Badi. There's no prophet. So I thought, why giving the example of Prophet Harun alayhi salam? When you think about it, it's Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, because Fir'aun had put coal on his tongue, and his tongue was burned. He had luqnat, he used to stutter. He could not give his speech. So what happens? Imam Ali is now the spokesperson on behalf of Prophet, peace be upon him. Right? And this is why you will hear Prophet say maybe a few lines, a few hadiths, but the entire sermons were given by Imam Ali. The same thing is that Hazrat Harun alayhi salam will speak on behalf of Hazrat Musa. Then I said, well, what else could it be? You can think that there is no progeny of Imam or any other scholars coming from Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. All the other progeny of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam has come through Prophet Harun alayhi salam. So the continuation of Imam is also through, and this is one of the reasons that this bond was created between Hazrat Musa and Hazrat Harun alayhi salam. Now, how many of you know about a hologram? Tell me what it is.
Like a picture?
going to be free lunch. I'm coming to you. You know, I don't just want to make it a monologue, because otherwise I'll be condemning myself. So.
I don't know how to explain it.
Okay, so pass it on to the next person. See.
So what I think a hologram is like a.
Can you speak louder?
Yeah. So it's like a display, which like shows something, but it's like floating in air, without anything to like support it.
Good. So let's add on. Do you think you can add something to it?
Three-dimensional projection of light without a display.
Very good. How do you create it? Don't be shy. And just relax.
You'd have to project light onto something, but it can't be displayed because that's just not the nature of a hologram.
Okay. Let's see what you can add to.
I don't know.
Anybody else? Ladies?
So is it like those projectors at school? Maybe because they project light onto the surface and then there's a picture and it's not supported by anything, right?
Oh, he's hired. So good. So let me show you what it really is. So this is what we have been really talking about. This is a laser light. Unfortunately, I can't project it on the screen. So this is the laser, and it is really a very, very strong laser light that has to go. And what happens, you have the first mirror, the light passes through that mirror, and then there is another deflector mirror. And then when that deflector mirror, if I want to make a hologram of this cup, that light will strike that little cup, which is the object, and call the object beam. And then what happens is that you need a second light that has to pass through, right? The second light, when it comes, we call it a reference beam. So it's also deflected from the same mirror, and then it is deflected from the second mirror, and when these two lights, they merge together, you get a hologram. And hologram is a complete replica because the light is striking the object from all angles. So if you take a hologram and you smash it in bits and pieces, every single particle, even single atom, will retain that image with exquisite accuracy. Okay? So this is almost indestructible. So the hologram is, you can look at it, but this cup is no longer in that hologram, nor is it occupying any space. Okay? It's not there, because a ball or cricket ball that you created hologram, it will no longer be there. So when you look at actually a hologram, you will see that the light passes through, and you have a four-dimensional object whereby every angle will show you the same image. Okay? Everybody gets it? All right, so let me tell you a little bit more about hologram, and Zahir Bhai, after this, you will be all fresh and charged up. So the light that captures the object in a photograph vanishes long time ago and can never be recaptured, right? Once the light is gone, it's gone. You cannot create a second hologram with that light, okay? Just remember this point. The other thing is that they are like photographs that never die, and the information is burned permanently in that hologram. They will never die. That's what you also remember. The third point really is that, these photographs never die, and also they are permanently imprinted on the plate by the laser beam. Every point in a hologram catches light waves that travel from every point in the object. Now, if you break a hologram into tiny little pieces, every single piece will retain that. Okay? Now I'm going to tell you something that I may get fatwas declared on me, but Zahir Bhai will forgive me for this. This is what it is. I personally think that the reference is given to hologram in a sense that when you think about the first mirror is hijab-e-ilahi. Right? That we don't know anything about. It is hijab through which when the light passes. Now remember, this light will never come back. It strikes the second mirror, and then the same light which is deflected, which is the actual we call reference beam, this we define as Nur-e-Risalah. This is Nur-e-Imamat. And then when it is deflected from the Nur-e-Risalah, it actually creates a hologram, which is Ali ibn Abi Talib. So the reason it is because the continuation of Risalah were to end. So that could not have been the hologram that Allah wanted to create, because Prophet, peace be upon him, is the last messenger. But because the continuation of Imamat is continued until the day of judgment through Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. So the actual, that part of the Nur is kept in the Imamat lineage until Qiyamah, and even if every single piece of it is destroyed, Ali's image can never be destroyed. And it is preserved forever. So I actually asked ChatGPT to write a poem about Ali ibn Abi Talib. So I thought they will get confused with Ali ibn Abi Talib. 5 seconds later, I blinked 5 times, and the actual poem that it created was just absolutely amazing. The only thing it did not have is what the Sahih Bhai would have said, Nara Hadari. So I think you could see the same beam of light when it was in isolation flashed on the Jabal Musa. Hazrat Musa just fainted, passed away. He could not really handle. So this actually silsila, or the tradition of Nur al-Risalat and then Nur al-Imamat, is the reason that Mawlai Kainat alayhi salam is known as Wajhullah, Anullah, Jubullah. It's not that Allah is present there, or Allah is occupying Allah any physical space. It is the attributes that are really transferred to Mawlai Kainat alayhi salam. And this is something that we think that the scientists, can think of. I can also talk to you about quantum physics, and then quantum physics in the sense of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. But I thought that, I was so proud that, I discovered something interesting and exciting, only to realize that George had said quite 100 years ago, Jaise ki nisf noor mila nisf noor se. Apne ko kirdigar ne that's the reflection of mirror actually is that. And then I also see Naweed Syed, he said, Pehlu mein Badshah kitna jalo dar wazir, Sarare nahi Ali wali khalq ka amir, dono jahan mein koi na dono ka tha nazir, Ahmad ke aftab ko Haidar main nuri, Zahir mein ek noor ka doja zarur tha. Agar gaur kijiye to wali The other thing, I think we also read Surah Rahman all the time. When you say, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, it says, رَبُّ الْمَشْرِقَيْنِ وَرَبُّ الْمَغْرِبَيْنِ. Mawla alayhi salam was giving a sermon, and the Jews stood up and he said to Imam Ali that your Quran has contradictions. And Imam Ali said, how so? He said, there is only one Mashriq and there is no Maghrib. Why is the Quran saying Mashriqain and Maghribain with multiple? Imam Ali smiled and he said, the sun, the place where it rose this morning, it will not rise from the same place tomorrow. The sun rise in summer is different than winter, and then in fall, and it changes every time. So Allah has said that Mashriqain and Maghribain because they continuously change in all the places. Then he said the second thing that, Allah says that heaven, the Jannah is paradise is so big, it's from earth till the heavens. So if it is so big, where would Allah fit hell? And hell is supposed to be bigger, right? So Imam Ali said, what happens today when night comes? How does night fit into day? Right? So the principle is really quantum physics. And then when you go further, and that's for me, often our ulama and fuqaha, they interpret it as two rivers running in parallel, and they do not mix with each other. right? This is how they will say, I can tell you there is no ocean and no river where waters do not mix. You may see some, for example, meltdown glaciers, some particles, they will blow, but the water always mixes. So this is not the correct interpretation. Let me explain to you what it really says. When you think about quantum entanglement, and Dr. Shiva would know this much better than I do, when you think about quantum physics, you can have two quantum particles. They could be billions of years apart, but they are really locked in frequency, and they're locked in mode no matter how far they are, right? They're all intertwined, and they are at the same frequency, but they never come together. So this is really the principle of quantum physics. So what happens is a strange phenomenon with, Albert Einstein also described a spooky action at a distance, right? So I will walk you through a strange phenomenon where two quantum particles, they interact in such a way that they become deeply linked and essentially share an existence, right? They share the existence. Let's remember this. The other point, this means that what happens to one particle will directly and instantly affect what happens to the other, even if the other particle is many light years apart. Prophet, peace be upon him, said, أَوَّلُ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ. Then he said, أَوَّلُنَا مُحَمَّدٌ, آخِرُنَا مُحَمَّدٌ, أَوْسَطُنَا مُحَمَّدٌ, وَكُلُّنَا مُحَمَّدٌ. And then he said, عَلِيٌّ مِّن نُورٍ وَاحِدٍ. So this is really the one source of light, one symbol. But when Allah created the Nur of Bibi Fatima Salamullah alayha, the angels were surprised and they said, we have never seen such intense bright light. What is this Nur about? And Allah said, this is Nur of Fatima Salamullah alayha. This is her Nur. And that Nur, not even angels were allowed to carry that to Prophet. It was ascended directly onto Prophet, peace be upon him. Right? So think about Maraj al-Bahrain. These are the two oceans running in parallel. They never come in contact. This is one of the reasons that Bibi Fatima Salamullah alayha did not have the physical conditions that apply to any other woman, right? And this is the reason during Hadith al-Kitab when Jibreel, he used to come all the time. When he saw all of these anwars under one blanket, one sheet, he could not recognize. And then he asked, who are they? So Allah then explained or described through Bibi Fatima Salamullah alayha. That nur was still kept on the side. This is Fatima's father, Fatima's husband, Fatima's children. So when you think about many Sunni, ulama also has described this as al-tafsir, that this Maraj al-Bahrain meaning actually there are two oceans, and this one is Bibi Fatima Salamullah alayha, the other is Malay Kainat, and then those lulu or marjan that emerge from it, they are Hasnan Sharif alayhi salam. So a little bit of quantum physics for youth to think about, in those parameters. Think out of the box as to not just limit them what their potential, their credentials will be. And I can tell you there are no really such rivers in the world where water doesn't mix. It just appears on the surface that they are not really doing. So when we have such an incredible, really, examples to follow our Masumeen alayhi salam and the Qadri Martabat in the Quran, that nothing is on the dry and wet that has not been kept or contained in Quran. Why? Why is that? Now this is the tough part to swallow. Why is that we have been really guilty in regards to our duty towards Masumeen alayhi salam. Especially Imam Ali, the man whom we, more than others, take pride in following. Right? Nobody in the world has ever said, Saluni, Saluni, ask me what you wish to ask. And then the question we're asking, how many hair do I have? I wish somebody would have stood up and said, well, can you tell us how to get to Mars? How to get to the moon? Right? No response. So receptive capacity was really not there. We have, either intentionally or unintentionally, we could not intellectually realize the significance of Imam Ali alayhi salam. if we have this meeting, maybe next time, there are some, asrar of Maulai Kainat that when I actually try to dig into, I tremble like a tree leaf tremble. We have not really gotten ourselves to the level to create a receptive capacity where we could actually understand Maulai Kainat as to why Ali was the son of Lajulullah, Ainullah, all the attributes were there. So this is something where we actually falter. All our attentions have been really devoted to prophets and hadiths about Imam Ali, or we focus on those who ignored them, and as such we fail to pay attention to the intellectual side of his personality. This is something that I think our youth, I will tell you, a person again who doesn't read is no better than a person who cannot read. So try to go and read up yourself. So when you come to the madaris, you're better prepared. Okay? Imam Ali also said that I would like to see our Shia youth, Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam also said the same. I would like to see my youth, Shia youth, in only two conditions. Either you're scholars yourself or you're in search of scholarship. There's nothing else for us. And when he used to take his class, there would be a placard at the back and it would say, an orphan is not the one whose father died, an orphan is who's deprived of knowledge. So, we do not wish to be the orphans. Our Imam is still alive. He is still among us, with us, helps us, guide us. So we are not really left kind of in any which way. Or the one in search of it. Did you know that the first university was created by, and the world was created by Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam? First in Prophet's Mosque and then moved to Kufa, he used to have 4,000 students in his class. And one of the students was Jabir bin Hayyan. So Jabir bin Hayyan was sitting in his class and then Allah said to everybody that whatever I am saying, write it down in the forms of book. A time will come when you will need those books. So Jabir disappeared for 2 months. And then he came, Allah said, Jabir, what happened? Where did you go? And he said, you said to us to write it down. I went and I have extracted and I have rephrased it and I have read his papers that were in Spain. I have extracted the green fluorescent protein from the mushrooms and I have developed an ink that can write and be read in dark at nighttime. And he said, this paper I have designed is fire retardant. The fire will never burn this paper. Right? So that chemical is now used on our firefighters' clothes. So, you can think about almost, 1,400 years or 1,300 years ago, where the students of our imams are the ones who brought the golden age of Islam. And then Jabir bin Hayyan students went on to really do phenomenal things. Why? Because and you also know, but the word, you guys have heard of gibberish? Right? Gibberish, Jabir? These are the words that are actually coined after Jabir bin Hayyan. His writings were so close to the ilm al-Laduni of Masumin that whatever he wrote in his books, they couldn't figure it out what he was saying. And it took me months to read one paragraph that I was privileged that the Spanish government allowed me access to Jabir bin Hayyan's papers, 5 papers, that I have written a paper and it's been published too. And he said, my Appa and Mawla said this, right? And then he starts his paper with those. And those papers that I have summarized them and it's been published, it really is a masterpiece of scientific discovery, knowledge creation, and just unbelievable. It's on the internet, you guys, Art of Science. You can actually see, and this is what makes and drives the policy of Canadian and the American research major organizations. It's something really important to think about. And the other thing was that Imam Jafar Sadiq organized the first university, and then the subject was religion, philosophy, and science. I was giving a talk just last couple of days ago in Iran, and there were thousands of people, and one youth raised his hand, and he said, I'm not normally allowed to ask these questions, but I will ask you anyway. And he said, what is really why the dichotomy? What is the comparison between religion and sciences? Why is there this contrast? And I said, who told you there is contrast? There is this kind of battle between these two? Absolutely not in my faith. Because, Quran says, सच्चों को तलाश करो और सच्चों के साथ हो जाओ. उसने ये नहीं कहा कुरान ने कि सच्चों को बनाओ, सच्चों को तलाश करो. Find those who are on the path of the truth, and then follow them. And I said, science does the same thing. Science is looking for truth. Quran says to you that, why don't you ponder on nature? Most subjects in Quran are about nature. The science also does the same thing. And as the Quran says, describes your history, and the literature review for us scientists is really mandatory. So Imam Baithak said, the subjects that we should study religion, philosophy, and science, and his message was religious education is no different than sciences and philosophy. This is also really important for our youth to remember. There absolutely is no difference. But he said the mandatory and the compulsory subjects of Quran and Hadith, this is something that will keep you and in your own rank. The first tax was the data gathering, information gathering, which is all Hadith. And we know that there are so many fake Hadiths in the other people. Alhamdulillah, we have very few, because the actual lines were drawn at that time by Imam Baithak. The Imam taught us that science is evidence-based and experimentally driven. And Quran also gives you hypothesis. And so are the teachings of Masumeen that give you hypothesis. They don't give you experimental evidence, because we know with time, when we develop novel technology and expertise, our vision, our perspective will change. The things may change. But the hypothesis remains same. Our Sunday school children, mashallah, this year won 12 gold medals in science competition. We pushed them, right? We gave them hypothesis, go and test hypothesis. The Quran says that I have stabilized this earth, this planet, by putting nails that are made out of mountains like pegs of tin. He said, go and test this hypothesis. So they calculated the mass of the earth. They also calculated the speed of the earth. And then they calculated the mass of K2. And then when the earth was moving at that speed, they took out K2, the earth tilted in its orbit. So they were geology university professors just standing there with their jaws dropped. And they said, where did you get this idea from? This is not in Quran. So we gave, Imam Baithak the hadith that at night, this earth shrinks at the late hours of night. So we told them to go and test this hypothesis. And so they came up as to what happens is how much mass is lost in the last hours of night on this earth, and then how little is added. So things like this. So it's really important that you have science which is evidence-based. And then he said that on the other hand, philosophy has no definitive answers. It's open-ended, and it helps to develop the social and emotional intelligence. But together they help really develop spiritual intelligence, which is really needed to recognize the Almighty Allah. So it's something that is important to remember, is that the IQ is important, but once you are in our medical school, we do not give you a grade, or we don't give you a division or percentage or nothing else. We do not provide all at this. So what we do, simple fail and pass. Because your IQ has already brought you to that level. From here onward, it's the social and emotional intelligence. It's also important to remember that without social and emotional intelligence, you will never have spiritual intelligence. So it's really important that you dig deeper into acquiring the knowledge. And then he said, this is how you would really recognize. The charter of that university was to worship no one but Allah, as per the teachings of Quran and Prophet, peace be upon him, and Masumi, service to humanity. And the vision of that university was all worship, our actions and codes of civil conduct, they ought to be based on knowledge, in alone, and without it, nothing matters. So in this half hour so far, I have been harping on what words, what are the key words that take away from you? What do you think? Yes.
Continuously search for knowledge and work as a community to overcome adversity.
There you go. Fantastic. He said it brilliantly. May Allah bless you.
You guys keep this with you.
And then the question is, Imam Dawud Sadiq alayhi salam, his religious education, he considered science and literature as two of the most important components of the system of religious education. He also believed that they are essential for raising the status of human beings and making them into good citizens. So this is something really important. It was his firm conviction that in an educated society, there is respect for right of others and mutual cooperation. This is really the partnership and collaboration among people in a community to be able to really foster intellectual credentials. Last few slides on this. Also, the Jafri school of thought is really, Imam Jafri Sadiq alayhi salam, he believed that the system of education had four important subjects: theology, science, literature, and Iman. They were essential for the strength of survival of Islam, which he deemed to be more enduring and lasting than any structure of steel that exists on the planet. So this is really the core and fundamental backbone of our Shia community and our Shia faith. And then knowledge, according to our Masoom, he defined the knowledge as follows: that whatever a man, or a woman learns is knowledge. When asked if one kind of knowledge were more important than the other, he said, we cannot give preference to one kind of the knowledge, but it really depends on the time and age. So when it is really COVID that hits you, you need to really put your resources to be able to solve that problem. If there's some other issues come up, you need to garner your support to be able to really use that particular knowledge. So again, it's a very fluid. If AI is becoming important, this is what Imam would have encouraged you to do, really go into artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, brain-machine interfacing, and computer technology. And the other thing that he said, that if you do not study and work for the love of knowledge, or work but only for money, it is highly unlikely that you will make any money nor find much fun in life. So do each thing as if you did nothing else. If you wish to make your dream come true, as I said earlier, is to really wake up. So this is something that's really, really important. So for my perspective and take-home message for you is that what does it make to succeed? What happens, what helped me really the most, me to do well, are the same things that got me in trouble when I was young. I used to get in trouble all the time. So outside my room window, there was a beehive, really nasty bees. My family told me never to open the window because the bees will come in and they will sting everybody. But what I would do, I'd close the door, I'd open the window, and I would stick my head right into the hive. And I always used to wonder, why off the gun? How do they know to build the off the gun? So I will play with it. I use a little needle and I disrupt it. I'll turn it into a square. And then the bees will come. I will think now they will start, they'll see it square, they will start rebuilding square. Guess what? 5 or 6 of them will come. They put out their wax, and then the worker bees come and they all make an off the gun. So I was doing crazy things, and they never stung me, and they never bothered me. But I used to get in a lot of trouble with those kinds of things. Really, be fearless. The ability to take on well-educated guests without fear, the ability to face that risk without panic, and to persevere regardless of how many failures you have. And last couple of my takeaway message for you, and then I'll talk to you about my own work, is that when you're thinking about your goals should be really kept in focus. And should be close enough to be achieved, and they should be helpful enough to change the lives of other people. And if you can write your ideas in the back of a really visiting business card, this is what your career goal should be. Creativity requires a willingness to really look stupid. So don't be shy of really trying something that everybody may think that is not good. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things that matter the least. So, and think about this, hope is never a good strategy. You can't shoot an arrow and you hope a bird will come in front of it. And this is not how it works. So make sure if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So the key really to our collective success as an ummah is that we must choose people for our teams They really are, their whole desire is the success of the idea. Who can add value, and they're all, they can emotionally handle a change, and they think really for the greater good. They possess, a sense of ownership. Nobody washes a rental car. If people do not take the ownership of the center, right, as their own, youth will never have the ownership as well. So consider it as your own idea in that sense. I think you have heard already enough of this. But this is really for older youth. Hopefully I'll come back to those who are searching for career and establishing career in their field. But I would really skip to and take you to my part 2, which really what the future looks like, what the future of humanity looks like, and how we really derive, our Masumis have told us matter, antimatter, and physicists have really won the Nobel Prize on the teachings of Imam Dr. Sadiq. He also said that there are planets where other, species like ours exist. A time will come when we will communicate with them. He said, don't pollute the environment because it's not really good. But what where do we see our future opportunities for education, research, health, and innovation, like startup businesses and healthcare sector? This is something for futures to really know. You guys know Wayne Gretzky? Yeah? The greatest player, right? He always used to say, if you don't shoot, 100% of the time you don't score. And he said, I don't wait for the puck to come to me, I go where the puck is. And somebody said to him, how come you have that many assists? He said, I don't pass puck to my partner where he is, but where he's supposed to be. If I pass him here, he's skating so fast, the puck drops behind the other team, picks up on the blue line, and what we've got is scored against us, right? So I think as a community, what we need to do is to give that puck to our youth, not where we are. Same thing is with our religion, not to pass the religion to them where we have gotten them, but we have to give them at the forefront. So if you like cheesecake, gulab jamun, or rasmalai, we don't take it when you go fishing, you take what fish likes. Otherwise you catch hold of no fish. You can sit there all day. So I think it's really important that we elevate and make our younger generation uncomfortable in their own settings. Mental health problems, gender identity issues, they are killing our community. I just met, maybe 5 or 6 American psychologists who were at that meeting, and they said the biggest problem in our community in the United States is among our children, our youth who are having identity crisis. Really, it's a big, major issue. Suicide is another major issue. And our youth are not really getting pushed hard enough because they're sitting in their comfort zone. I think it's important that we give them a 30,000 view of what our Masumi told us, that you have to go and change the world, right? Change the world, not look for jobs, right? Don't sell yourself cheap because this is not what you will take. Imam Ali alayhi salam was passing through a graveyard and he said, Assalamu alaikum ya ahlul qubur sudur. Then he said, oh, the dwellers of dark dungeons. Do you know what happened to you after you left? Your wives have married other men. Your whole wealth and treasure is being distributed, and the houses, other people have moved into your houses. Nothing is actually left. Then he turned towards his companions and he said, if they could speak, and Imam must have heard that too, respond back to Imam. And he said if they could speak, they would say the best attributes, the best wealth that you can collect is taqwa. And it's such an important thing. One day Imam Ali alayhi salam was giving a sermon and a person got up and he said to Imam Ali that, teach me and tell me something about taqwa. And Imam Ali, all of a sudden, you could see that sadness appeared on his face. And since he had asked the question, Imam Ali gave him 125th definition of taqwa. He got up, he fell on the floor, and he was trembling like a bird in a cage or a fish out of water. And he passed away. Imam Ali came and he said, I'm so sad. I knew that this could happen. If the actual attributes of taqwa are revealed to a muttaqi as to what taqwa really means, it cannot stand it. It doesn't want to live life as worth living anymore. So I think, those are the aspects that we take. So when you think about future, where do we go? You guys have seen your doctors recently? Lately? Somebody got sick? No? This is what your doctor's going to look like. And it is true.
Yes.
This is how your doctor is going to look like. Okay, in the future, it's a hybrid, half human, half. When you think about the digital telehealth, this is the careers that you should really look for. Everything is coming at a one-stop shop. So if you have missed this boat, you have actually missed the boat. Then you think about the quantum cloud computing, it is such a powerful approach that, a surgeon sitting here can perform surgery in Ottawa or in Calgary or anywhere else. And the whole healthcare system has really shrunk into a precision health, which is becoming a one-stop shop. This is really the future of what the medicine really looks like. We are also, how old are you?
Me?
Yeah.
15.
So we actually have a young boy at 16. He came up with this idea, young chief scientist for Creative Destruction Lab. He created a capsule. And when you eat that capsule, it goes through your system. And what it does is that it goes through your guts, and if it sees a polyp, it will immediately send that signal to surgeon saying that this person has a polyp in the GI which could turn into cancer. Then he would say, do you want me to take care of it, or are you going to do the surgery to take care of it? And then what happens is that when it comes at the other end, it collects all the microbiomes that will define who you really are. And this is kids only 16, 17, 18 years of age, right? So your competition is not us. The old folkies like myself will be long gone and dead and finished. Your competition is sitting right next to you, just as smart, just as clever as you are. So it's really important that if you think that you are the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. Change the room. Surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, who are better than you. This is how you will grow, this is how you will learn. But if you stay with the dummies, like me, this is what our imams have also compelled us to keep your companionship with people who are smarter than you, who are better than you, who are sharper than you, in that case. And then using the biosensors, you can actually have biosensor planted that will take all your vital signs and do really great things. We're also using immunotherapies, and the nanoparticles and the nanomedicine is really revolutionizing the medicine field of medicine. If you're interested in healthcare, we can take the blood from a pregnant mother, and we can actually determine if the baby that is yet to be born may have any genetic abnormalities, right? And then, of course, you will say, well, what should we do with that information? You can actually use CRISPR technology to go back and delete that defective gene and insert the healthy gene in. So the child will be born without, major genetic abnormalities or Down syndrome. This is really already happening. And what else is that there are really the hybrid rooms where you can do remote diagnostic. Person is in Ottawa, and you can actually take their MRI or CT scans. Similarly, we in Calgary, how many of you know what Canada armed the space station? You know that arm? That arm is actually based on a technology that was developed in our institute. It's called NeuroArm. So when you do the MRI image, and the surgeon will look at the image and then performs the brain tumor or brain surgery. But when you open up brain, it looks very different. So what he has done is developed an MRI and made robots that are made out of titanium. He sent the robot inside the magnet. Now the surgeon sits in a different room, and he can actually perform surgery using a joystick and remote control. And the actual, the haptics was developed by 2 kids in grade 8. They play games all the time, so play games, don't stop people. They can come in. And then, at the end, in our hospitals, we have these little, gizmos running around delivering food for our patients, also giving them medication, and also the nurses didn't need to be exposed to COVID or anything else. And then this is your what the future doctor will really look like. So you have remote diagnostics. 3D printing is also becoming really very important. So you can see how biomedical engineering aspects, the integrated learning that Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam said, in his compound there will be 19 classes concurrently occurring. You could go from one class to another, whatever subjects you like. You didn't have to really become a doctor. हमारे यहाँ वो बच्चा पैदा हुआ कहते हैं कि डॉक्टर बनेगा। वो ज़्यादा साइकिल के पंचर लगा रहा है, वो उसको सवा के कहने डॉक्टर साहब जरा पंचर लगा रहे हैं। So we actually don't think of what the credentials of our youth really are and where the passion is. So I think this is something that's really important. So now the 3D printing, you can actually take somebody's bones and you can print that bone completely as befitting for that person. So you don't have to go in and say, oh, you have to go there for the So things like this are really becoming very, very, very important. And then the other thing, we talked about already, artificial intelligence and machine learning. If you're not familiar with this and you feel that you are going to go in, you will be left behind. This thing is taking so much power now. I mean, I would have brought actually crabs if I hadn't directly come from Iran. We have removed the brain of the crab. Its nerves are still intact. We put a chip, we connect it, and this crab is controlled by remote control. And when we put chip in one crab and connect with the other, when this one moves as well. So you can think where the field is really going. And I will show you a couple of examples. And similarly, we have virtual reality that is becoming really so powerful. If somebody has post-traumatic stress disorder, you can use virtual reality tools to be able to actually get them to fix their brains. And I can tell you about brain. This is my area. We had a young girl about 11 years of age. She got sick. Family thought she had cold. They gave her some Tylenol. They gave her some medication, but the situation got worse. And then after 3 days, she was brought into Children's Hospital, and she was in pretty bad shape. Emergency immediately decided that there was something wrong, and they sent her to intensive care. She was in intensive care for 72 hours, and she passed away. And it was all of a sudden a healthy child was just gone. And then the family wanted to know what was the issue, so we were asked to do the autopsy. When the brain actually came, when you look at the brain, brain at that time was sitting squishy. When now people think about brain, so that's not really the brain masala. Brain masala is when you think about brain, you can see the structure, but it is only biological. But it really has nothing in terms of really thoughts or feelings. You cannot tell what she was thinking, what she thought about her friends, why was she upset with family members, what her future plans were. Nothing that we could see from that considering tissue. So what we really wanted to do was to dig in to find out how all of this thinking, sadness, happiness, really comes from. So what we thought about that time, 2004, that paper now formed the basis of all artificial intelligence and machine learning of this current time. So when you think about brain-computer interfacing, we know that your brain is so complex. How many brain cells do you think you have?
Trillions.
Use the microphone.
Don't be shy. There's no such thing as wrong answer.
Trillions.
Tens of billions. There are actually more brain cells in your brain than there are stars in the Milky Way. Right? And even more than real cells. And the connection between them are in trillions. So if you leave the center today and you stayed awake, you would have gotten from a majlis several thousand new synapses in your brain. When you come to majalis, you get new knowledge. That new knowledge is created by brain cell connectivity. That is actually the tabarruk of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. That is the nazar Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Not what we eat. The animals eat the food too. But that is really the treasure to keep the majalis. And attending majalis is so important, and you learn something. And when you go, your brain is really more connected in many different ways. So when you think about really brain itself, and I will get you guys engaged in the last few slides. And the many times we have experiential blindness in our brain, things that we don't know, we also really overlook them or refuse them altogether, that it doesn't happen. So I'm going to show you some images, and then the question will be from you to tell me what you see. What do you see here? Okay. What do you see here? Sorry?
I said, I can't figure out.
Anybody else can figure out?
Watercolor. Why would you like to confuse?
Anybody else can figure out what it is? Grown-ups?
Is it the same picture as the snake that you showed?
No. Anybody else? Actually, this is experiential blindness. Your brain is constantly trying to figure out what it is. What could it be? Because you have not seen that particular image. Now, if I show you what it is, you have seen it now. Pay attention. You will have no problem with recognizing it. So we call it experiential blindness. It's really something very important, and it's based on the brain circuits. And the thing is that early stages, when you have a kitty cat, if you put a patch over one of its eye or a chick, just for a few days, that kitty cat will be blind in that eye for life. The children who can't hear, they cannot speak. So early life experience for younger youth to expose them to a really, an environment, with scholars is so important. We actually managed to get brain scans of her children who were kept in terrorist camps. They were tied on, with benches, they were beaten, and the only thing they were taught was kafir, kafir, Shia, kafir. Right? That's the only thing. They were abused, they were not given food. This is how the brain actually on the right side looked like, as compared to a normal child of 4 or 5 years of age. So the brain actually fails to develop. So it's really important that we provide a nurturing environment for our youth to be able to really get their brain to the level where it should be. So what we really wanted to do was to first try to figure out how brain functions. We had to really tap into processing capabilities of the brain, and we came up with the idea that can we develop a brain chip. So everybody thought we were crazy. We were smoking pot, even though it was not legalized back then, thanks to Justin Trudeau. And then, so the idea was that these disruptive technologies are there to really change the world. And you think that your brain is really smart? Let me show you. Actually, it's not that smart. And this is where we tap into its capabilities. So if you look at this young man, and you can do this experiment at home too. Okay, you can play in your school. This is a rubber hand. And he's asked to focus on the rubber hand. He can't see his own left hand, and there's a card in between two, right? He can't see his hand. The only hand he can see is actually the rubber hand. So every time his own finger will be stroked, that the rubber hand finger that he's focusing will also be stroked. Right? Everybody got it? Now you can see what happens.
Here you can see fake hands focusing on it. There's the real hand not focusing on it, simultaneous stroking, and there are various ways you can test it.
You see what happened? Let's see again. Yeah. ये देखें ये जो इसका आगे जो है रबर का हैंड रखा हुआ है और उसके लेफ्ट साइड पे उसका अपना हाथ है, लेकिन वो अपने हाथ को देख नहीं सकता. तो जब उसका वो हाथ जो वो देख नहीं सकता ब्रश से स्ट्रोक होता है, लेकिन उसका फोकस उस रबर हैंड पे है जो स्ट्रोक हो रहा है, राइट? उसका अपना हाथ नहीं है और है रबर का हाथ. तो इसमें देखिए होता ही है.
Practice. Here you can see fake hands focusing on it. There's the real hand, not focusing on it, simultaneous stroking, and there are various ways you can test it.
तो वो अपने उस रबर के हैंड को अपना हैंड समझता है। तो हमने इसी टेक्नोलॉजी को एक्सपोज करने के बाद कि जो आपका प्रोस्थेटिक लिम्ब है, आर्टिफिशियल लिम्ब है, उसको अगर हम ब्रेन से कनेक्ट करते हैं तो वो मसनूई हाथ को अपना हाथ समझ के ही कंट्रोल करेगा। तो हम जो है वो नेचुरली साइबोर्ग हैं। अगर मैं हाथ बढ़ा के इस रिमोट कंट्रोल को उठाता हूँ तो जो मेरे ब्रेन के सेल्स एक्टिव होंगे वही उस वक्त पे एक्टिव होंगे जब मैं सिर्फ इसको उठाने के लिए सोचूंगा, right? So kids, when you think that you're going to pass your exam, you can say, "Oh, I can just think and I'll pass." No, that's not going to work. Okay? So you have to work hard for it. So we are natural cyborg. Our brain really recognizes itself, reorganizes itself in response to input from simple tools that we use routinely. So it's far more open system than we think, and it changes all the time. This is something we really important. So what we do is that for brain-machine interfacing, we know that the same part of the brain are active when you're physically doing something or when you're imagining about this. So we can create this robot that is really a simple robot, and we mount these electrodes on the scalp, or whatever students will do, the monkey will mimic it, right? So our students can actually play a game by just sitting, without touching the keyboard. And they get into, they can turn the lights on or turn the lights on just by thinking about it, right? Similarly, we can bring in young kids in the lab, and whatever Fahad is doing here, the monkey will actually copy his every single action. And then we teach them to control a cube in the tunnel, whereby he can really think about the cube going up, to down, left, right. And when he controls this, we use this to fly a drone. And I'll show you that by just thinking, we can fly a drone by just thinking about it. But look at this car. It's actually better than a remote car. It's also brain control. There's no remote control. So the thinking has such a huge power that when it is translated, we can put it into action. And then we can also fly a drone. So to keep this is something that you can do subcortically by planting surface electrodes, but to get into the brain is a very different story. So we created this setup whereby we provide this incubator the same requirements that is needed to keep your brain cells alive. So it has oxygen, CO2, PCO2, it has temperature, humidity, everything is regulated, and we can grow these brain cells on the semiconductor chip that we developed, so the brain cells actually pair with the chip as if it is part of the brain. And the cells, when they come together, we can actually listen. Can you imagine if your parents had a little, camera attached to you, following you all around? Right? Spying on you. We actually spy on these brain cells. And one cell, when they come together, they will say, "Hey, how are you doing? So you will be able to actually decode those signals, and then you begin to find out how brain was put together in the first place. So this was a major hurdle that required chemical engineering to make sure you develop a substrate where brain cells can stay alive. And then we went to the next stage where we have these hundreds of thousands of brain cells. We can monitor and record their activity with exquisite accuracies for days and weeks. But they are still brain cells from rats dissociated on chip. But they cannot really, they're not the way that they would be in the brain when the brain is connected. So we wanted to do the next stage. We took a brain slice, we put it on the chip, and we could now record three-dimensional activity seizures in the brain using this. But this still is where the cells have to be in contact, like an egg on a frying pan. But you don't know really what happens to the yolk on the top. We developed another technique which is called photoconductive stimulation, whereby we grow these brain cells in silicon wafer, we load them with dye, and when we fire a laser through the microscope, it changes the properties of the wafers, and I honestly never thought I would live long enough to see what I'm going to show you. And then what happens is a single laser will activate these hundreds and thousands of brain cells, right? They are sitting in a whole slice at a resolution that is really unheard of or was not approachable before. Now we have the ability to report from large networks of brain cells. We now plan to go into really connecting it in monkeys, for example. This monkey has no arms, so you have a prosthetic limb attached. You place a chip in the sensory motor cortex. When the visual cortex talks to sensory motor cortex, the chip picks up the activity, and now it is paired with that artificial limb, so it can control that prosthetic limb as if it is part of its own body. So the monkeys now that we have just started a facility in Iran with 1,000 primates will be available for research, whereby in the next generation of chip, this monkey can play ping pong. It will be so fast in terms of its ability to really conduct. So from now, going through animals, an iterative process, we needed to go into humans. So what happens in children who have epilepsy and they don't respond to drugs, the surgeon decides that their brain needs to be operated and then take out that part of the brain where seizures are coming from. So they will really mount these electrodes on the scalp. And these electrodes are not very sensitive that are in clinical setting. 30-foot cable, a child is attached, they will stay in the hospital, and then for 10 days they monitor, $10,000 per day. So what we wanted to do was to develop a chip which is MR compatible. So once the chip is planted in the brain, you put them in the MR machine, the MR will tell you the position of electrodes and exactly the brain region. And what we also do is, these are my last few slides, what we also do is that make it completely wireless as well, so the child can go home, and whenever the child will seize, it creates a tomogram, a 3D image of exactly showing where the seizures are coming from, and it tells the surgeon, do this and this and this to remove the tissue where the seizures are coming from. So, and you know what we named that chip? So we open up the brain, we plant the chip, and then the little dongle comes out, and this actually makes it completely seal the brain back, put the brain back again, and what happens is we can record every single seizure that is triggered with exquisite accuracy. We are working now with Apple, with the Apple application, either 19 or 20 application, whereby we will have a cochlear implant, and whenever this person will seize, it will dial a cell phone, and it will tell them right away, you're about to have seizure, pull over. I dial 911, I have turned on the GPS locator, the ambulance is on its way. And then also second signal will be to wife that you're originally I think, really where the future is heading with all of this technology, so I'm going to give you something that may scare you, may get excited, is that really can these chips, the brain, be downloaded on a silicon chip. Actually, some people have done this. Their father, who was a lawyer, he was dying, and the doctor said, you have 3 months to live. And so the family sat down and asked Dad to tell them stories. How he was in school, what he did, how he saw his wife, how he got married, children, what kind of songs he would sing, what he liked. Everything was downloaded, and now what they can do, we actually dial the cell phone. The dad died a long time ago, and they can actually, using an AI, communicate with dad. Use his own voice, and he will tell them, "Beta, ghurani ki koi baat nahi, Allah khair karega." Right, so the language really that is created through an AI is an absolutely remarkable. Not everybody can do, because maintaining that hardware will really take a long time, but I'm going to show you something that may scare you, so my apologies.
Only takes a moment for the unthinkable to become reality. In the near future, tragedy may come with new choices. Imagine you've been in a car crash that killed your daughter. Or has it?
Time of death, 9:17. Your daughter's brain was not impacted by the accident. If you wish to scan your brain for digitization and upload, you have approximately 5 minutes.
Do it. Now imagine the power you wield when you can order a digital copy of your daughter's brain. And do you know what comes next? One day delivered to your doorstep is an artificially intelligent android that will act, look, emote, just like your daughter. Every memory from birth on will remain intact, but she'll also be a walking computer with access to all the world's knowledge. This is what your world will look like. This is the future of artificial intelligence. It's the deep future. Your body, gone. You're all computer, all the time.
So, you know, I may not be alive, but you will be in next maybe 10, 15 years. The actual brain download and the memory download may occur, and we were still the first team to actually recapitulate memory on a semiconductor chip. So just remember me in your duas later on. Here is also Erica.
Hello there, may I ask your name?
Hi there, my name's Ignacio.
It's nice to meet you, Ignacio. So, what country are you from?
I'm from Canada.
It's pretty cold there, eh?
Meet Erica the android. She or it, depending on who you ask, is one of the most sophisticated humanoids ever designed. And she's giving us a glimpse of what a year-million AI might look like.
Modern computers are adding machine. They add very fast, giving the illusion that they're thinking.
And you know, I can tell you this for a fact, that our biological intelligence is regressing at the expense of technical intelligence. So we are becoming dumber. And Allah says in the Quran, "Ya ayyuhal insan, if you do not behave, you shall be replaced." I wonder whether we are working on our replacement. That's something to really think about. And then finally, I would really like to onboard you. We're reaching the point of singularity. If we did not behave, we will be at the receiving end. So this maybe in the next 20 years or 15 years will happen. But there is something that no AI can ever do. And that is to take over Shadi.com. Thank you very much.
मैं चाहूँगा कि आप यहाँ पे आइए आप जैसे आप खड़े हुए और कुछ सवाल जो कि सिलसिला शुरू करेंगे लेकिन मैं चाहूँ कि अगर मनी क्लियर ऑडियंस जो अगर ये इनसे सवाल
आप यहाँ बस कितने ही बच्चे हैं
ऐसा है तो नहीं इस वक्त कुछ ऐसे ही सिलसिला है
I can tell you there is no free lunch. Right?
डॉक्टर साहब आपको याद जो हमने बात की थी स्कॉलरशिप के हवाले से इंटर्नशिप के लिए
Yes.
वो भी एक अनाउंसमेंट अगर आप कर दें
So, you know, we will be happy to sponsor 5 youth from the community who are interested in conducting research. And it doesn't have to be in our area, but anything that is biomedical or medical research related. And they can come. We have 5 students from the United States. We have an agreement with them. They write an essay. They tell us why they want to do this, what is their career goals, and how this opportunity may help them further their careers and goals. So, and if there are any students in your community who are really interested in to spend some time with us, we will be happy to cover your expenses too during the summer. So it depends on how long you can afford to come. Those students who came, actually all 4 of them are in medical school now, right? So there is a tremendous opportunity for you to really broaden your scope, and we will take you hiking, we will take you backpacking, we will throw you in front of there. So I think, when there are, we can take number students as well, but there is liability in university. If they are too young, God forbid they get hurt, or they think, cyanide pill as some kind of a candy, and then they take it. So we train them with safety and other aspects, but we can turn a blind eye if a student is really keen and excited. Normally, we take university students who are in the first year because they have reached, age of 18. They also have their own university's certificate of safety courses they have taken. But, if people just want to come and visit for a week or so, we will be hosting 5 centers from the United States next summer, inshallah, whereby the youth will come and we will take them out in the mountains, we take them in chip design fabrication, we send them, spend some time in the labs, in different labs, for training them to be able to really learn things that will really help them. So, don't be shy. I know that free laundry and free food at home sounds pretty good, but we'll treat you well.
Selection criteria.
So again, after you write your essays, and we need to really know that you are really serious, and don't take away the opportunity for someone who really wants to do. Not just come for, hey, what, I will take a selfie and this is, what the culture is. You need to be really hungry. You really need to want it that way. When I finished my master's degree, I had one-way ticket to England. I had no money in my pocket. And my professor said, how are you going to pay your fees? You have no money. I said, Allah is Musajib al-Asbab. I'm just taking the step. And so, I gave a talk in front of all the professors, and I got one of the best scholarships that there was. So if you have the will, there will be a way.
जी आप में से किसी का कोई सवाल है? फ्लोर ओपन है?
One person stayed away.
Okay. So for the scholarship, I have a question. You know how you told us to write an essay, right? So where if we do write it, where would we submit it? Or
it's just one page. Really, you have to tell what it is that your career goals, right? Why are you interested in this particular area and discipline, and how this particular experience will help you achieve your goals, right? If you want to be a biomedical engineer, for example, you can say that I'm interested in biomedical engineering because I wish to see engineering solutions for health problems, right? So, and this particular opportunity where I can look chemical engineering, electrical engineering, I can make, biological sciences, this will provide me with the opportunity to be able to really achieve my goals and my targets in my career. So you need to really express that. Like I said, it doesn't have to be 10 pages, just one page, right? And this is what they do. In Adara Jafriya, they will ask me to put a question, a problem in front of students. So I will put a particular, and then it gets judged by 3 different judges in the United States, and they will rank those students accordingly. But here we make it really simple for you. So just write down as to what your career goals are, how this opportunity will help you achieve those goals. It's simple. And don't use ChatGPT because I can crack the code.
जी, आपका सवाल.
Thank you for your talk, very insightful. So I recently just started my master's in public health, and one of the problems that, kind of an unlikely problem that we're sort of using in the field is a lot of misinformation and this rise in anti-intellectualism. So I was wondering, do you have any advice about how to combat something like that on such a large scale?
So, it's a really great question, and this is what has created, Islamophobia. This is what has created gender identity issue and crisis. The younger children are moving more in that. I gave one of the TV programs on gender identity issue, and from our city, I got 17 families contacting me, and they were worried about it. And it was really heartbreaking. Mother said to me that, my son just came home and he said, Mom, I'm gay. And she said, I felt like the earth has slipped underneath from my feet, and I didn't know how to handle this. So I talked to this young kid, and he said, look, in the Quran, Allah says that I created you for man and woman. And then we have distributed you into tribes and, families and different branches. And he said, I am one of the branches of the rainbow. Right? So they will find the ways to fit themselves right into. And then when we talk to them as to what really the issues are and what could be the consequences of all of this and how it all truly develops, kids here are very fragile and sensitive. And when they see that these people are not treated with kindness, they are oppressed, they are isolated, so they automatically feel empathy towards them, right? And then when they see your prime minister, marching along, on his gay parades with all the other, the leaders of the kids, they said, this is true. And you might even see some of these, people from churches and synagogues. They're marching and they're creating special branches for them. So they think it is actually something that is cool. Many of these kids have issues at home, right? The family issues, there are many other issues. They are just seeking attention. And they use different means to seek attention, and misinformation actually fosters into this. So ignorance is actually bliss. And unfortunately, that can only be countered by knowledge, where you can actually be the judge to see as to which particular knowledge is true. So as I said, data is not information. Information is not knowledge. Knowledge is not wisdom. Wisdom requires consciousness. Right? And then the consciousness can only be purified, as Quran says, that, oh Muhammad, peace be upon him, your job is to do tazkiyah nafs. So for tazkiyah nafs, we have to go to Masumi. So, thinking about truth or searching for truth is the cornerstones where you will be able to sift, really what the truth is, what the falsehood is.
जी इसके बाद पीछे
So I heard of this company. It's been a long time, so I don't really remember the name. Basically, they preserve like dead bodies. So a person who's about to die, they can sign up, and then they get their body and they freeze it to preserve it, right? And the idea is that in the future they'll find a way to revive these bodies. So is that possible?
Great question. Hazrat Uzair alayhi salam was going and he saw the whole town being completely vanished. And he asked Allah, how are you going to resurrect them? Allah put him to sleep for 100 years. Right along with his donkey. So after 100 years, Allah raised him back. And he said, how long did you sleep? And he said, only a moment or two. So the donkey slept with Prophet. Nabi ke saath soya 100 saal tak. So now how did that really happen? Food was still fresh and the water was still fresh. So the science actually tells you it is possible to preserve. And Allah also said to Pharaoh that, we as your identity will be destroyed, but we will preserve your body. So after he drowned in Nile, nobody knows where his body ended up. Now every single pharaoh is preserved. This is the promise of Allah, right? We will preserve your body to teach other people the lessons as to who Pharaoh really was. So we have frogs in Alaska, right? So winter comes, this frog is frozen stiff. You throw them on the floor, they will be shattered like ice crystal, right? They're frozen. So what happens 8 months later when spring comes? The frog will say, that was a good sleep. And he wakes up and off he goes. So what it has a protein that doesn't allow its water molecules to crystallize, right? It's dead. No brain, it's just rock, but it comes alive, right? So when people are preserving their cryoprotecting their bodies, they have the same idea that a time will come when they find a cure for a particular disease, they can bring us back to life by using the means. Allah has how many different ways Allah has created life? And somebody asked that question to Imam Ali alayhi salam. How many different ways? Can you think of when the life was created? As with Adam alayhi salam, right? No mother, no father. Bibi Amma Hawwa alayhi salam, no mother, no father. And then that goat, that Hazrat Ismail was, preserved, protected. And even the actual cord around the goat itself was considered revered. हमें कहते हैं कि आलम जो है आपका ये काबिल ताज़ीम नहीं है वो रस्सी जो बकरे के गले में बंधी हुई थी जब वो काबिल ताज़ीम हो सकती है तो जो शायर मासूमीन है वो कैसे काबिल ताज़ीम है. And then the snake, that Hazrat Musa alayhi salam's stick turned into, right? So there are many examples that Allah has created life in different ways from nothing. And then to bring people back from that is not a science fiction. It will happen in time.
Thanks. So regarding the installing brain chips in your brain, right? So do you think for whatever reason, do you think there's any danger in having a procedure to install something inside your brain?
So that's a great question. So this is one of the reasons that we have not really gone deep into the brain. We are doing subcortical implants, but we are working on a harpoon electrode, which is like a harpoon. When you, for example, in a deep part of the brain, you just shoot it, it goes in, and then like a parachute, it opens up. So it doesn't cause the damage that you would cause by planting a big electrode. But people who have Parkinson's disease, they're really bad tremors. The surgeon goes in and inserts a deep brain stimulation electrode, and the patient has a little button. They press that button, the tremors stop, they can stand and start dancing. So deep brain stimulation electrodes are being used, but I think going through the brain non-invasive way in the future. To give you an example, how many of you are addicted to gulab jamun or chocolate? Be honest, I am. So it's really good thing, right? And so those are good addictions, but some people are addicted to drugs, or they will be addicted to, for example, alcohol. And what happens, nucleus accumbens, deep part of your brain, when it is active, they fire at a very particular discharge. So even some cortical chip, like the cell phone, when they fire, when somebody calls you on your cell phone, your phone is the only one that is ringing, right? Even though everybody else's phone. So when you pair those brain cells with the chip subcortically, and when you pick up your phone, you are the only one talking, right? So you can actually pair a device in the brain with the activity of those brain cells, and when the nucleus accumbens fires, when you have craving for alcohol or drugs, it automatically ducks the number of your chip. The chip locks onto the frequency and it shuts down the activity of those brain cells. So people who have static pain, the pain goes. The alpha fibers, they fire, they're non-myelinated. They fire at certain frequencies, so you have a cuff electrode. So whenever those cells carry pain to your spinal cord, they fire, the chip wakes up and says, oh, hold it, hold it. Okay. We block it. So it blocks the conduction, never makes it onto your spinal cord. So these are the early approaches when you can decode and crack the code of brain cells firing pattern, you will decode the DNA. And once you do this, sky is the limit. You can actually design and devise these robots that will have feelings like humans do. That's not that far. We needed to really tap into conscious part of the brain. Now we know where conscious is in our brain. You can do these robots that will have feelings just like humans.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम डॉक्टर साहब अस्सलाम वालेकुम डॉक्टर साहब ठीक है अच्छा मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि जहाँ तक मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग है इंटेलिजेंट और किसी डम पर्सन के मुताबिक वो ये है कि इंटेलिजेंट पीपल जो भी कुछ अपने ब्रेन में जितना भी इनपुट होती है वो उसको स्टोर कर देते हैं और दूसरे लोग जो हैं जो नहीं होते इंटेलिजेंट वो उसको उनकी स्टोरिंग कैपेसिटी इतनी नहीं होती है अब अगर फॉर एग्जांपल 20 स्टूडेंट्स क्लास में हैं तो उसमें 5% इंटेलिजेंट होंगे वो जिनकी स्टोरिंग कैपेसिटी जो है वो अच्छी होती है अगर कोई गैजेट हो उसमें हम उसका मेमोरी कार्ड लगा के उसकी स्टोरेज बढ़ा लेते हैं अब आपने जो ये चिप के बारे में बताया है ये चिप जो है ये क्या मतलब उस डाटा के अलावा भी आपको इंटेलिजेंट बनाती है जो एक्सटर्नली हम फीड करते हैं किसी लैंग्वेज में जैसे कि आपने बताया है
बहुत सी जो हमारे यहाँ सर्जिकल स्किल्स हैं उनको हम एनहांस करते हैं चिप से नहीं बल्कि ट्रांसक्रेनियल मैग्नेटिक स्टिमुलेशन से हमारे चिल्ड्रन हॉस्पिटल में जो बच्चे आते हैं जिनको हाइपर एक्टिविटी है ऑब्सेसिव कंपल्सिव है या ADHD है तो वो रिपेटिटिव जो बिहेवियर करते हैं वो पाथवे हम जो डिटेक्ट करते हैं कि ब्रेन में कौन सा पाथवे एक्टिव है तो उसकी एक्टिविटी को आप वहीं पर रोक लेते हैं अगर आप 401 में एक्सीडेंट हुआ है तो आप उसको वहीं पर ब्लॉक कर दें और ट्रैफिक को आप डाइवर्ट कर दें अपनी जगह से डिटोर बना के तो वो पर्टिकुलर पाथवे जो है वो डिस्टर्ब हो जाता है लेकिन किसी की मेमोरी की कैपेसिटी कम या ज़्यादा नहीं है ये सिर्फ अटेंशन का इश्यू है अगर दो लोग इमाम बारगाह में सबसे पीछे बैठे होते हैं वो हर आने जाने वाले का शजर नजर भी ढूंढ रहे होते हैं और उनको ये भी जरूरत नहीं कि कल यही कपड़े पहन के आया था आज भी यही पहन के आ गया उनकी तवज्जो मौलाना की बजाय वो हजरत में रहती है जिसकी वजह से अटेंशन स्पैन जो है वो आपका एक्टिव नहीं होता तो इसीलिए जो स्टूडेंट सबसे आगे बैठते हैं उनके पास डिस्ट्रक्शन नहीं है जो आपकी इंफॉर्मेशन का इनटेक है तो वो जब इंफॉर्मेशन का इनटेक डिस्टर्ब हो जाता है तो आप डिस्ट्रैक्टेड हो जाते हैं तो ब्रेन आपकी उस इंफॉर्मेशन को स्टोर नहीं कर सकता लेकिन एक बंदर के ब्रेन में भी उतनी ही कैपेसिटी है जितनी कि एक इंसान के दिमाग में है लेकिन बंदर के लिए उसकी कोई सेंस नहीं है अब आप देखिए बंदरों में आपको एक्सपेरिमेंट बताऊं कि 6 बंदर एक कमरे में थे और ऊपर जो है हमने वो लटका दिया केले का एक गुच्छा और नीचे लगा दिया लैडर सीढ़ी लगा दी अब वो बंदर आए कहने लगे यार ये तो कोई मसला ही नहीं है हम तो दरख्त पे चढ़ते हैं तो वो जैसे ही उन पे चढ़ने लगे एक एक करके उनको ठंडे यख पानी से सबको स्प्रे कर दिया अब वो उसके करीब नहीं जाते वो बैठे हैं तो हमने उनमें से एक बंदर निकाल के एक नया पंछी उसमें छोड़ दिया वो अभी पाकिस्तान से डायरेक्ट किया तो जब वो आ गया तो उसने देखा कि यार ये बैठे हैं बेवकूफ़ है मेरे लड़के हैं कोई जाता नहीं तो जैसे ही उसने जाना शुरू किया तो सब बंदरों ने उसको पकड़ के घसीट लिया और उसकी पिटाई शुरू कर दी उसको मारना पीटना शुरू कर दिया अब उसकी समझ में नहीं आ रहा यार मेरी पिटाई क्यों हो रही है मुझे पानी गिरा रहा है उसको अंडरस्टैंड एक और बंदर को निकाल के फ्रेश पंछी को ले आया तो जो नया बंदर आया अब उसकी सब ने पिटाई की उसमें वो भी शामिल था जिसको वजह पिटाई नहीं मालूम वो भी उसमें शामिल हो गया तो ये एक यानी हर्ट रियलिटी हमारे यहाँ जो क्रिएट होती है ये यानी कैपेसिटी अंडरस्टैंडिंग की इंटेलेक्चुअल कैपेसिटी बंदरों में उतनी अब हमने 2 केजेस में 2 बंदर हैं और बीच में एक रस्सी है, दोनों ने मिलकर रस्सी को खींचना है, तो एक बकेट केलों से और फ्रूट से भरी हुई आती है, मगर इस बंदर की केज में आएगी। तो अभी क्या करता है, एक केला इधर रखता है, एक केला इधर रखता है, एक सेब इधर रखता है, एक सेब इधर रखता है, और वो दूसरा वाला उसको देख रहा है उस्ताद कितना माल उसने निकाला। अब वो उसका हिस्सा उसको दे देता है, अपना अपने पास। हम ये करते हैं कि जैसे ही वो देता है तो शटर खोल के केला नीचे से गायब हो जाता है, और वो देखता है अरे केला मेरा गायब हो गया, एक ही वो उठा के अपने पास उसका केला में रख लेता है। अब the next time that monkey will never help us, right? तो ये हम जो चीज़ें समझते हैं कि इंसानी इंटेलेक्ट का हिस्सा है, ये हमारा दिमाग की बंदरों से मुख्तलिफ नहीं है। तो जो लोग जिनमें कैपेसिटी नहीं है अटेंशन की और अटेंशन स्पैन है, वो उस वजह से उस नॉलेज को रिट्रीव नहीं कर सकते। आपको शायद एहसास ना हो, आपकी बचपन की मेमोरीज वो सारी की सारी आपके दिमाग में स्टोर है, लेकिन जिस फाइल और फोल्डर में आपने उसको स्टोर किया है, आपको उसका नाम नहीं मालूम, आप उसको फोल्डर का नाम याद नहीं है। लेकिन अगर आप 401 में खुदा से जा रहे हैं और सामने से रॉन्ग वे से ट्रैफिक आए और जैसे ही हेड ऑन कोलिजन का खतरा हो, तो आपका हार्ट एड्रेनलिन जो पंप करती है, तो वो ब्लड ब्रेन को पंप करता है, तो आपकी बचपन की मेमोरी सारी आपके सामने फ्लैश करती है, राइट? सो एड्रेनलिन ट्रिगर्स, तो ये स्टोरेज सब कुछ है। बाज़ लोगों में उसको रिट्रीव करने की कैपेबिलिटी नहीं होती है, और बाज़ लोगों के यहाँ ये मेमोरी, ये जो नॉलेज है, ये फ्रेगमेंटेड है, टूटा हुआ है, आप उसको रिकॉल नहीं कर सकते। लेकिन कैपेबिलिटी सबके अंदर बराबर की है, अल्लाह ने सबको बराबर। Those two thumbprints are really not identical, उसकी वजह यही है।
अच्छा, एक सवाल और डॉक्टर साहब, मुख्तसर सा सवाल आपसे। अहले सुन्नत की एक तफसीर नज़र से गुजरी थी जिसमें मुख्तबरा फरमाते हैं कि आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस पुराने वर्ड्स में ये मौजूद है कि परवरदिगार ने ये कहा है कि ये आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का सबसे पहले इस्तेमाल सामरी जादूगर ने किया। इसमें कहाँ तक हकीकत पाई जाती है?
आप सुन्नियों की बात है तो शैयों में
I think मैं इंग्लिश में बोलूँगी ताकि बच्चों को पूरी बात समझ में आए। What apparently something like about 7 or 8 years ago, the World Health Organization declared that alcohol is a level 1 carcinogen, and the reason why it's a carcinogen is because it can damage our DNA. So even though I remember these words, but I don't know what is the exact mechanism by which, I don't need to know the chemical procedure, but what I want to know is the significance of the DNA and how much of the DNA can be damaged, and what is the impact of that DNA damage. Thank you.
So, the DNA is not just damaged because of alcohol alone, right? So even high caloric intake, that we eat a lot more food, sugar, for example, it can also create free radicals which will cause damage to your DNA, and DNA damage would then result into tumors and cancer. When you look at Japanese, their caloric intake is 2,700 calories. They actually have the lowest incidence of cancer. North Americans have 3,500, 3,700 calories. They have the highest DNA damage and the highest cancer. But what happens with it, alcohol also has hydroxyl and when it activates the pleasure center with the dopamine, when dopamine is released, it actually binds to your DNA and it opens up your DNA. When it opens up to your DNA, the DNA then produces your regulatory RNAs. These RNAs are then transported to those particular synapses, and they will then cause a particular activity, craving, and other aspects. So it's not just one or time. Quran says that alcohol is good for health, right? So it's not a contradiction, but because once you trigger the process, then it takes away your sense of judgment, and you keep on drinking, and that is really what causes the damage in the longer run. But hydroxyl ions, anything that helps makes you lose your senses will fall into that same category, that it will in the longer run cause DNA damage. You know, ये तो हमारे बुजुर्ग के भाइयों की मुसीबत है कि जिन्होंने छुट्टी करवा दी, वरना तो ये तो चलती थी इस्लाम के बारे में। तो इसका बैन इसलिए किया कि लोग जो है साइंसी छोड़ के ज़्यादा ही क्योंकि आ जाते थे, वो तो नहीं चाहते थे।
So I have a two-part question. Firstly, with the emergence of AI and it going up fast, do we anticipate new deadly diseases and ailments? And the second part is with the AI, there is less and less human interaction between people. Are we going to see a rise in mental health issues such as depression even further?
Great question. I think you made all the effort worthwhile. So I was giving an interview on BBC and somebody called from Germany and they said, well, what is going to happen to our children? Right? They are not interacting, they have no social intelligence, no emotional intelligence, and they're always playing on their gadgets and I said, look, they won't be dealing with humans. Right? They will be dealing with these same robots and same thing. But it is absolutely important that we pay attention to that aspect. This is one of the reasons that I actually had a meeting with Elon Musk when we were discussing all of these issues. And he said that we are summoning the devil. And even though he started the birth of the devil himself, right? He said we are summoning the devil. And it is really what it's going to do. Younger generations, recent statistics came from the United States. The IQ, in addition to social and emotional intelligence of youth dropped 20% to what it was before COVID, right? And the highest rate of suicide among the youngsters now has never ever been so bad. So I think this is really important that you have that social interaction. We're social animals and we need to really socialize. If we do not, our biological intelligence will regress at the expense of technical intelligence. When you do the brain scans of, for example, taxi drivers in London, they used to have hippocampus really large. This is where learning and memory is, right? They will remember every single street in London. Now if you do the MRI there, the hippocampus has shrunk 25%, right? So the learning and memory is not GPS everywhere. You have all of those technologies. This will eventually make us completely paralyzed. So if Google becomes all-knowing, all-almighty, what will happen to the concept of God that you have in your mind? This is something to really remember. This is why spiritual, linkage, spiritual intelligence is very important. When I was a department head and people will donate their bodies and they're dying and I will go and visit them and I ask them, what regrets do you have? And they say, we abandoned spirituality, we abandoned our deen, we abandoned our faith and religion. That is one of the most, profound regrets that I have in my life. So I think, keeping the social interactions, this is what our Muslims have offered us, right? We drop everything. For 2 months, 2.5 months, we don't even cook at home. They come to the center, we interact, tabarruk is given to make sure that all your holy needs are met so you can socialize and do. But you are absolutely right, children are having many mental health problems among our youth, and we deal with this on a daily basis. And the only thing is that the stigma attached to it, the family should realize and recognize that the child is really needing care and love, and then take them to really specialists, love them, and my advice is every morning, when you wake up, think about 3 things that you're grateful for. Positive reinforcement in your brain. What it is that you're grateful for. You have got parents, you've got roof, you're not going to go out and get shocked, right? You don't have to worry about, school, education, or healthcare. Think about the great things, and if you think positive, you will never get depressed or have depression.
Okay, next question.
So just piggybacking my question off the last one, you showed in your presentation the progression of healthcare professionals being partially AI. How do we examine the ethical issues with the lack of compassion and empathy that these artificial intelligence
know what time it is?
7.
That's the wrong answer. That's the wrong answer. You should have said, yes I do, or no. Yes or no. If he says to me, Dr. Syed, do you know what time it is? I will get the impression that I have gone over time already. And if I'm driving and my wife calls and says, do you know what time it is? I know somebody will get hurt of that. And I know that would be me, right? Well, when you deal with a patient who has mental health issues, you're testing their cognitive functions, you ask them the question, do you know what time it is? So you can see that the AI difference between humans and when you deal with different linguistic and the linguals of our language. And, in an AI-made decision, does a patient have the right to know whether the decision was made or the protocol was designed by an AI? Who will be responsible if instead of a surgeon or a robot comes into the operating room as a surgeon? Who will be held liable? Can I sue that robot? Right? So those are still questions that are really being worked out. And when people were given, the charts to read that were designed by robots, they all could not make any guesses and say. So that's another really issue is that do I really know whether my decision in my healthcare was really determined by a robot or by AI or by a human? Who will be held responsible if a decision is misled? So they did really very careful analysis for cancer and for radiology, and it turns out that the actual AI is still superior than human judgment on many of these charts and these records. So my suggestion is that use humans because you can have human interactions. They will know what time it is. And then what you do is that have a backup, a second opinion using an AI to make sure that you actually, if there is a ball that you may drop, that you can actually capture that ball. So I think an integrated hybrid approach will be the best approach moving forward.
So you mentioned how the brain chips could affect pain reception and tremors and stuff like that. But could the brain chip also change the chemical composition of the brain for people that suffer from chronic depression, which is like a chemical imbalance? And could it also change the immune system and help with organ transplant or something like that?
Great question again. Absolutely. I think this is probably the easiest thing to do, to even use these, goggles which we, use for virtual reality or, almost absolute reality. You're going in a car, for example, on a mission, and a bomb blast, car blown up, your comrades are killed, you're the only survivor. You can have post-traumatic stress disorder for your life, right? So using virtual reality aspect, and you have depression, which is really chronic, what you can do is you can design it in such a way that you will take them back, recapitulating that, recreating that scenario, but with a better outcomes. Everybody comes up. So hallucination, bereavement, aspects of it. And similarly, depression could also be treated using even transcranial magnetic stimulation, those parts of the brain where you have dopamine, the reward center, maybe enhancing serotonin at the other level. And what you do is sort of raise chemical neurotransmitter level higher to overcome that depressive effect that your brain might have. We all feel, कभी कभी हम बैठे होते हैं तो एकदम से उदास हो जाते हैं, हमें पता नहीं होता, और वो ऐसा लगता है कि depression, that's not really depression. It has to last for at least 3 weeks consecutively. There are particular protocols, and then you could really do either therapy, but do exercise, eat healthy, meditate, and salat is one of the really important things. When you go twice in sajda, it reminds you that Hazrat Ali said, कि तुम इसी मट्टी से आए हो और इसी मट्टी में लौटोगे. दूसरा सजदा भी बात की endorsement है. The language, you to go back in there. So when you think about, those aspects, keep your mind healthy. We all go through those patches in life, but think positive and reinforce that positive. And then if there is an issue, seek really help. There is help around.
You briefly talked about Azadari. यहाँ पे हम लोग कम से कम हमारे जो यंग जनरेशन है वो एटलीस्ट कोशिश कर रही है कि जिस लिहाज से भी हम एटलीस्ट जो यूथ हैं उनको आने वाले नस्ल को जनरेशन को इस तरीके से अट्रैक्ट कर सकते हैं, चाहे वो इवेंट्स हों, कुछ भी हो, या फिर इनफैक्ट मजलिसों में मातमदारी हो या इस तरह की चीज़ें हों. I remember last time when we spoke, can you briefly talk about the neuroscience and Azadari, यानी कि मातम के हवाले से और आंसू के हवाले से जो हमारे इस मसले से अजान लेते हैं. I know there is some neurological factor to it.
Oh, absolutely. I think I gave a full talk on neuroscience of Azadari and how Azadari actually affects our brain, and किस तरह से हमारे अज़हान ने Azadari को शेप किया और Azadari ने किस तरह से हमारे अज़हान को शेप किया. हमने चूहों को लेकर उनको पहली दफा चेरी ब्लॉसम की खुशबू सुनाई और इलेक्ट्रिक शॉक दे दिया. ये चूहा जब भी चेरी ब्लॉसम की खुशबू सुनता है इसको खौफ व हरास करने हो जाता है. इसके बच्चों को ले उन्होंने न कभी खुशबू सूंघी है न शौक दिया. जब भी वो चेरी ब्लॉसम की खुशबू सूंघते हैं उनके खौफ व हरास. उनके बच्चों में भी ऐसा है. अगर आप आर्टिफिशियली भी इंसेमिनेट करें तो उन बच्चों में भी यही हालत. तो बनी उमैया की साजिश यही थी. इमाम हुसैन को शहीद कर दिया तो छोड़ देते, सर भी काटा, लाशों की फिर अंगुली की, फिर आले रसूल को दरबारों बाजारों में तमाम इमामों को हमारे खून से इन्होंने गारा बनाया, हमें भीतर महलों में चुन दिया. ये सब कुछ उन्होंने किया कि इस कदर खौफ और हरास तारी कर दो कि हमारा ये नाम सुने तो इन पर दहशत तारी हो जाए, ये फ्रीज हो जाए. आपको मजलिस किस तरह की तशकील दी कि 40 मिनट फजाइल, वो फजाइल डीकोड कर देते हैं आपके मेंटल डिप्रेशन को और आपकी इंटरजेनरेशनल ट्रॉमा को. ये आपको उस तरह से. और फिर बीबी ज़ैनब सलामुल्लाह अलैहा ने बाजारों में खुतबे दिए, दरबारों में खुतबे दिए. आपको पता था कि ये लोग सुनेंगे, ये भूल जाएंगे. So my auditory cortex, when it actually records something, I forget it. तो बीबी ने क्या किया, जब रिहा हुई आपने सबसे पहले तबरुकात मांगा. इमाम हुसैन का कुर्ता आया, हज़रत अब्बास का आलम आया, बीबी सकीना की मश्क आई, उसके साथ साथ जो है वो हज़रत अली असगर का झूला आया. आपने वो सब रख के मजलिस की. Now the visual cortex tied with your auditory cortex, that image was permanently imprinted on our brain. Right? इसीलिए जब अलम निकलता है तो आप 1400 साल पहले ट्रांसफर कर जाते हैं, आपको करबला ले जाता है. ये बीबी ज़ैनब सलामुल्लाह अलैहा का कमाल है, ये आपका हमारे लिए मौजूदा है. तो इसी तरह से हमने एक्सपेरिमेंट किए कि जो लोगों के ऊपर फिल्म का इम्प्रेशन क्या है. तो उसमें हमने मैग्नेट में डाल के उनसे कहा कि आप स्टोरी कोई पढ़ें. तो हम उनके हार्मोन्स के लेवल को मेजर कर रहे थे और ब्रेन के स्कैन्स को, और दूसरा शख्स दूसरे मैग्नेट में वो कहानी सुन रहा था. तो जैसे जैसे ये शख्स कहानी के मरकजी किरदार के करीब होता चला गया और इसमें ऑक्सीटोसिन और वेसोप्रेसिन और कोर्टिसोल के लेवल जैसे बढ़ते गए, ये कहानी के मरकजी किरदार से मुत्तसिल हो गया, बिल्कुल ट्रांसपोर्ट हो गया. तो अज़ादारी वो ट्रांसपोर्टर है, आपको ट्रांसपोर्ट कर देती है. तो जो वो देखता है कि इमाम हुसैन के जिस्म पे इतने तीर थे कि आपका जिस्म जो है वो तीरों पे मुझे हो गया, वो जंजीर उठा के अपने आप को वैसे ही महसूस करता है. तो कोई शख्स खाली मातम करता है तो जंजीर से मात, तो जिस लिहाज से ट्रांसपोर्ट होता चला जाता है वो उस नहज पे आ जाता है कि मौला के जिस्म पे इतने तीर है, मैं भी अपने जिस्म को वैसा ही महसूस. ये उसके इख्तियार में नहीं है, ये उसके बस में नहीं है. वो क्या किस तरह से करता है, तो कोई खास गिरिया करता है, तो आंसू होता है. तो ये मुख्तलिफ किस्म की स्टेजेस हैं जो आपको ट्रांसपोर्ट करते हैं. लेकिन जो सबसे गिरी मुझे बात में घंटों उस पर बैठा हुआ रहना कामता रहता हूँ. बीबी ज़ैनब सलामुल्लाह अलैहा घर में 3 बरस की होंगी. आप मौला की गोद में बैठी थी और आपने सवाल किया मौला से कि मौला बाबा आप मुझसे मोहब्बत करते हैं. तो मौला ने कहा हाँ बेटा मोहब्बत करता हूँ. कहने लगे आपके दिल में खत्मी मरतबा सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की मोहब्बत है. हाँ बेटा. तो आपके दिल में अम्मा की मोहब्बत है. हाँ बेटा. दिल में उनकी भी मोहब्बत. तो आपने कहा कि आपके दिल में भाइयों की हसनैन की मोहब्बत, कहाँ बेटा? कहने लगा आपके दिल में अल्लाह की मोहब्बत? हाँ बेटा अल्लाह की मोहब्बत। तो बीवी ने सवाल किया, कहने लगी बाबा एक दिल में इतनी मोहब्बत कैसे समा सकती है? मौला ने जवाब दिया कि मैं तुम सबसे मोहब्बत करता हूँ उसकी वजह से। अब जब मौला का सर बीवी ने नेज़े पे देखा था तो आपने सर की तरफ इशारा करके कहा था, या अल्लाह हम सब की जानिब से अपनी बारगाह में ये हदिया कबूल है। आप देखें बच्ची के ज़हन में जो बात थी कि सब कुछ खुदा की निस्बत से, अल्लाह को कहा कि अब हम सब की तरफ से अपनी बारगाह में ये हदिया कबूल है। देखिए ये वो असबाब हैं अज़ादारी के हमारे यहाँ, जो हमारे अंदर नस्लन बाकर नस्लन हमारी आंखों की रंगत की तरह से हमारे यहाँ कुछ साल पहले ही एक मेरी खातून थी, उनसे काफ़ी डिस्कशन होने के बाद वो कन्वर्ट हो गई। तो वो कन्वर्ट हुई, मुहर्रम पूरा गुजरा तो मेरे पास आके कहने लगी, डॉक्टर नवीद कैन आई आस्क यू समथिंग, पूछो। कहने लगी कि मेरे समझ में इन्हें नहीं आता कि आपके यहाँ जैसे ही मजलिस में इमाम हुसैन का नाम आता है मैं देखती हूँ छोटे छोटे बच्चों की आंखों में मोटे मोटे आंसू आ रहे हैं। हाउ व्हाई आई डोंट फील दैट वे। तो अगर आंसू आ जाए आपकी आंख से तो ये आप अपनी माँ को दुआ करें। ये बीबी फातिमा सलामुल्लाह अलैहा का एजाज है, इसको छुपाएं नहीं, इसको किसी तरह से। हमने टीयर्स का भी एनालिसिस किया, हमने खून को जो है ना टीयर्स कलेक्ट किए, बच्चा जो तकलीफ से रो रहा है, किसी की फैमिली में डेथ हो गई या किस वजह से डेथ हुई, हमने फिर मोमिनीन के मजलिस में मसाइब के दौरान रोते हुए हमने दो कतरे आंसुओं के 50 लोगों के कलेक्ट किए। There are actually 2 unique proteins that you do not find in any other tears. किसी भी tears में आपको वो दो प्रोटीन्स नहीं मिलती जो इमाम हुसैन के लिए आपकी बात। ये हमारे लिए देखिए ये आम वजह नहीं कि बीवी अपने रुमाल में आपके आंसू बह जाए। वो दो ऐसी प्रोटीन्स हैं जो यूनिक है, क्योंकि वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ इमाम हुसैन से मंसूब है, इमाम हुसैन से मुत्तसिल है। तो ये ऐसी हमारे पास ये ट्रेजर्स हैं आज़ादारी के हिसाब से भी, कि यदि आज़ादारी ने आप अब ये बता दें कि मुकस्सरीन है, मैं आपको बता दूं ये मज़हब ख़त्म हो जाएगा, ये इनका मज़हब रहेगा ही नहीं। पैशन के बगैर कोई मज़हब जिंदा नहीं रह सकता जब तक कि आप पैशन जरूरी है। अब यहाँ तक आ गए हैं हमारे ही अपने इसमें एक वो साहब आए हमारे ही सेंटर में, कहने लगे ये कैसे हो सकता है कि अली जो है वो खैबर में यूँ फलक से पत्ते पहुँच गए और फिर जब मर्द को मारा तो घोड़ा को बेज़बान को उसको मार दिया और फिर अली को इतना इख्तियार नहीं अपनी तलवार पे कि इब्राहिम को बंद रखना पड़ गया नीचे से। और ये माँ बाप को फिक्र चीज़ें ये बच्चों को मत सिखाएं, इनके दिमाग में वो हैरी पॉटर की स्टोरी की तरफ चले जाते हैं। तो मैंने कोई पकड़ लिया, मैंने कहा आज अपने अली पे ज़रूरत लगाई है, कल को तो आप कुरान पे भी सारा शक करेंगे कि कैसे चूतियों ने बातें की, तब तो सुलेमान को यूँ दिया आसा मारा दंगा पड़ गया। मैंने कहा कि आप लोग तो मतलब ये हमारे यहाँ जो जहरियत आ रही है ये बहुत, इसकी वजह यही है कि इन्होंने दर आले मोहम्मद और फज़ाइल आले मोहम्मद को छोड़ दिया। जितना आप उससे दूर होते चले जाएंगे दर बदर भटकेंगे, आपको डर नहीं मिलेगा और रास्ता नहीं मिलेगा। इसीलिए जो है यही हमारे लिए बाइस से निजात भी है और बाइस से वो भी है। और ये देखें हम लोगों की औकात ही क्या है। जाबिर बिन रुबान इमाम सादिक अलैहिस्सलाम की महफिल में आया, मौला ने कहा कि मरसिया पढ़ो, तो उसने मरसिया पढ़ना शुरू किया, आपने रोक दिया, क्या ऐसे नहीं, ऐसे पढ़ो कि मेरे जब की तुम कब्र के पास पढ़ो। उसने फिर मरसिया शुरू किया, ऐसे नहीं, ऐसे कि तो जैसे तुम कब्र में उतर के मरसिया पढ़ो। अब जब उन्होंने मरसिया पढ़ा तो मौला ने कहा कि तुम समझते हो कि तुम्हारे मरसिए पे सिर्फ हम ही क्रिया करते हैं, अल्लाह 4000 फरिश्तों को इस महफिल में भेजता है जो हमारी तरह से वो भी गिरिया करते हैं और हमारी जानिब से तुम्हारी बख्शिश के लिए वो असबाब फराहम करते हैं। तो ये देखिए ये इतनी अजमत है अज़ादारी सैयद शुहदा, इसका कोई नेमो बदल नहीं है। और जो दुनिया आज भटक रही है, दर की ठोकरें खा रही है उम्मत के अंदर भी, वो इसीलिए है कि उन्होंने दर आले मोहम्मद और ख़ास तौर पर मौला कायनात का दर जो है ना को छोड़ दिया। तो जब तक आप आपके दर से मुत्तसिल रहेंगे, आपको किसी चीज़ की फिक्र नहीं है। अब मिलत सरवर का अदा काम करेगा, कुरान के सिवा उनकी सना काम करेगा। सुनते हैं अभी आते हैं मोमिन की लहर में, ये सच है तो जीने की दुआ करो।
सही में आपके सवाल है।
Part of my question already Farjad asked, so we save time here. What I would like you to shed some light on the project which you are working in Pakistan, the University of Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, and how the youth here or the elderly community can be a part of it.
Great question, जय भाई मौला का सलाम रखें। आप लोग हैं वो अज़ाए सैयद शुहदा के तहफ़्फ़ुज़ में डटे हुए हैं और डटे रहें। देखिए बाकी है कि कोई और किसी चीज़ की परवाह नहीं है। हम यही कहते हैं कि गैर की बस में जाकर मुझे क्या लेना है। मैं कहते हैदर सफ़र के लिए आया हूँ, गैर की बस में जाकर मुझे क्या लेना है। तो उसमें देखिए हमने जो आम मंजर आम की बात नहीं आती, इस साल हमने 38 मोमिन बच्चों और बच्चियों को फुल स्कॉलरशिप के नॉर्थ अमेरिका में हमने उनको PhD के लिए बुलाया। हम अपनी होम ग्रोन पॉप जो कर रहे हैं। तो पाकिस्तान में मरी एक्सप्रेस वे पे टोल रोड के साथ हमने 70 एकड़ जमीन खरीदी। इट्स अ ब्यूटीफुल पीस ऑफ लैंड, माउंटेन्स हैं उसके चारों तरफ। तो उसमें हमने ये इंशाल्लाह ये किया है कि वन स्टॉप शॉप, जिसको हम नॉलेज मॉल कहते हैं, कि एक ही दरवाज़ा है। जिस तरह से मदीनतुल का एक ही गेटवे था, उसके 5 विंग्स हैं। इसमें आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, रोबोटिक्स, मशीन लर्निंग, ये सब के सब। दूसरा बायोमेडिकल इंजीनियरिंग, तीसरा लाइफ साइंसेज की यूनिट है और चौथा फिजिक्स और केमिस्ट्री। सो इट्स वन पॉइंट ऑफ एंट्री। तो उसमें हमने इसकी अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह कंस्ट्रक्शन शुरू हो चुकी है। अभी कुछ महीने पहले ही कोई की फैमिली थी, उन्होंने मुझसे पूछा, जैसे आपने पूछा, तो उन्होंने उसी वक्त 10 मिनट में कहा कि वी विल ट्रांसफर 2.5 मिलियन US। तो आप उसकी बुनियाद खड़ी कर दें। तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह वो शुरू हो गई। तो उसमें इंटीग्रेटेड लर्निंग होगी, जैसे मौला की क्लास में अहाते में ओपन लर्निंग होता था। तो हमने इमरान खान ने हमारे साथ 2 टीमें साइन की थी। तो उसमें ये था कि हमने उस पूरी जोन को रिसर्च, इनोवेशन, एजुकेशन एंड टेक्नोलॉजी एंड कमर्शलाइजेशन जोन उन्होंने उसको डिक्लेयर कर दिया था। तो हम चाहते हैं कि इंडस्ट्री भी ऑन साइट हो। तो अगर आप यूनिवर्सिटी में कोई टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप करते हैं तो उसकी वहीं प्रोटोटाइपिंग हो, उसका वहीं पैटर्न फाइल हो और वहीं कंपनी हो जो उसको वहीं फैब्रिकेट करके उसको मार्केट के अंदर। सो पाइपलाइन जो है इनोवेशन की बिगर और फास्टर, क्योंकि हमारे nothing goes into the pipe, nothing comes out on the other side. तो इंशाल्लाह ये यूनिवर्सिटी उसमें 12 कॉर्नर्स हैं, 14 उसके पिलर्स हैं। तो वो ये उसका बेसिस ही सारा जो है वो मासूमीन की तालीमात पे ही उसका सारा बेसिस है। और इंशाल्लाह कल भी IMI पे आपके यहाँ के मोमिन हैं, उन्होंने कहा I will donate $5 million आप जैसे ही जब आप फंड रेजिंग करेंगे। तो अगर बाबुल हवाइज के लोग उसके लिए डोनेट करेंगे तो वहाँ पे एक बाब होगा जिसमें लिखा होगा बाबुल हवाइज।
For reading, what would you recommend for the kids to like look into apart from like there's tafsir of Quran and Nahjul Balagha, but apart from that, like you were saying, reading is very important. So what would you recommend in terms of religious matters as well and for this knowledge?
Yeah, so every knowledge is really knowledge. So and you can encourage them to read fiction. You can encourage them to read literature. Lord Sultan book has the voice of human justice. It's about Imam Ali. Dr. Abbas recently wrote a book about Imam Ali as well. And in addition, I think there are many books. You have the shower nights. The books are really a great book, Messiah's book, Man in the Universe. It is absolutely essential for all youth. We teach our private school. वो जो यहाँ पे आपको होम में पढ़ाते हैं, we try to now teach our children. माशाल्लाह इनका लेवल इतना हाई हो गया kids का कि they outshine other children. So read anything. A person who doesn't read is no better than a person who cannot read. So make reading as a habit. And 10 minute, 15 minute आप किसी की भी तफसीर पढ़ रहे हैं, वो कुरान की तफसीर पढ़ रहे हैं, अब आप देखें ताहा, यासीन, ये कोड वर्ड्स हैं, अलिफ लाम मीम, बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, अलिफ लाम मीम डॉट, ज़ालिकल किताबु ला रैब फीह हुदल लिल-मुत्तक़ीन लल्लज़ीना युमिनूना बिल गैब व यक़ीमूना अस्सलाता व मिम्मा रज़क़नाहुम युनफ़िक़ून। अलिफ लाम क्या है? तफक्कुर करें इसके बारे में, रीड करें, सर्च करें। अब तो लाइब्रेरी आपके हैंड हेल्ड डिवाइस पे आ जाती है। They really have no excuse. So, read 15 minutes, 20 minutes before you go to bed. अखबार है मासूमीन के, और हमारे यहाँ तो बहुत सी किताबें, हालांकि ये लाखों खान ने और मंगोल्स ने इतनी हमारी किताबें फेंक दी थी, जला दी थी, दरियाओं में बहा दी थी कि दरिया दजला का पानी काला हो गया था। So we have a lot of really good material to read. They should read. Read anything that you can get your hands on.
My other question is, like you were saying that in future the memories and thoughts can be downloaded. Can the memories, thought and knowledge be uploaded as well through?
That's a great.
Like Inception.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really a great question. Certain aspects of it can be downloaded and uploaded. That's not an issue. So, for example, I can show a picture of my grandmother, and I can tell the other person, this is my grandmother, right? But they will not have the same feeling. Or if you were to recapitulate the scene here, it will be impossible because nobody will know what you were thinking, what you were feeling, what the wind was like, what the fans would like, what kind of smell you had, what kind of really auditory cortex you had. Those memories will be impossible to recapitulate because nobody will have handle on that particular aspect, that particular code of memory. Everything else, simple things, can be really reloaded and downloaded.
So will there be any security concerns as well for somebody to have those
If you could do brain to brain, you need to have a device that can relate to another device, right? I do have a chip that I have planted, it's almost 12 years. But nobody can read it. I need my own transporter to be able to read it. And it can read, all my information, my passport, my card, bank card, and I can reprogram it. But it can only happen in such a close distance, right? But you need to actually have a device that can read that. So I need to plant a chip in someone's brain. I know the fact we brought these crabs where we take the brain out and we put the chip in and connect it to the nerve. I can press a button and the crab starts to move, right? So those kinds of things are possible and feasible. But to be able to read someone's mind, from facial impressions, AI can read mind with exquisite accuracy. Even your dog can actually sense if you are about to have seizures or not. Nurses can tell you that in 5 minutes you may have seizure because you actually get your facial impression stage. But to be able to actually fully read someone's mind and then download that memory, not possible now, maybe in the future.
I wanted to ask, after identity issues or mental health issues के बारे में काफी बात की, हमारी कम्युनिटी काफी स्टूडेंट्स पब्लिक स्कूल जाते हैं जिसमें आइडेंटिटी के बारे में काफी बात की जाती है. हम as a community and as individuals, how can we help students of our generation or younger than me to move beyond those issues and not create much confusion कि आगे जाकर and all problems.
I think brilliant question, and I think this is one of the most burning questions in our community. Our own children, right, even in the United States, they are seriously impacted by gender identity. At the age of 8, you are actually cisgender. हम लोग जो छोटे से कम गुड़िया से खेला करते थे, गुड़िया की बारात आ रही है और हम बाराती बन के साथ में आ रहे हैं. So there was really no gender differential at that time. But by the time you reach 8, it begins to spread, right? So those people who are getting their children to go through identity switch over, where their puberty stopped, that is absolutely terrible because your growth will stop, your bones will start to deteriorate, and your liver will start getting damaged. Those who have complete changeover of sex, they actually don't live past 25, 30, 40 years, right? Similarly, if you then stop your adulthood by giving hormone therapy, that is even worse, right? It will destroy, your immune system, your endocrine system, and liver. You get cirrhosis of the liver. You get, many other aspects of those, treatments where you stop facial, hair, shave your Adam's apple, and then complete, really switch over, surgical switch over, is hundreds and thousands of dollars, right? It costs so much that these people will definitely have mental health issues, and they often end up committing suicide. I think making them realize that what it will entail in the years to come, if you decide to go that route, you will fall into the ditch, right? And that ditch is worse than what you are feeling. And they claim that these children who have identity issues, they commit suicide, they are declared, paranoia, they declare schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. They could be very, very early tackled, and then try to figure out why is it a particular child thinking this way. Is he thinking because there is a issue in a home, right? Is there a problem at school? Do they have identity issue? Are they really having, some kind of inferiority complex in some way? But even for sexual, preferences, for example, gender, there are many different categories. Sometimes people are attracted to someone because of their knowledge. Sometimes because of aesthetic. Sometimes just to be in the company. But those things should not be considered or deduced as a person is attracted to another person. They did a very extensive study at Miami that 60% of women actually prefer the same gender, even physical attraction, married or not married, right? So those are some things that, are, even in our university, our top-ranked lady professors, who run senior level positions, and tough ladies, 90% of them, I know they are lesbians, right? So there are some aspects of the personality, not only just in children, but also at the higher level too. And, it needs to be really tackled and dealt, whereby children, when they're young, you have to take them to children's hospital. There are specific units which specialize, and they try to figure out why a child is having this particular identity crisis. They dress up as female, or male is dressed as female, or appearing in that sense. So just dealing with normally and appropriately in a proper way, and then doing a little psychotherapy to get them out of this.
Last question लेंगे सेकंड है टाइम ज़्यादा हो चुका है जी
And there are certain things that I cannot actually discuss in front of two young children. But our kids were 8, 9 years old. We had a session with Maulana, and they asked very blunt questions, direct questions, and we dealt with them in an open way. I think इसमें कोई शर्माने की बात नहीं है. These are really problems. ये बच्चे ही हमारा सब कुछ हैं, यही हमारा असासा है, यही हमारे एसेट है, और अगर हमने इन्हीं को खो दिया किसी तरीके से भी, तो we are in a tough spot.
मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि किसी हमारे से जेंडर इशू पे कि बच्चों को ये कैसे समझाया जाए कि गलत को गलत कहना सही है. आजकल बच्चों को अगर हम इनको ये बात बताएं कि ये चीज़ गलत है, ये सब जो कोई आजकल चल रहा है जेंडर इशू में कि आप अगर ये हैं या जो कुछ भी आप आइडेंटिटी अपनी शो करते हैं, तो बच्चे आजकल ये कहते हैं कि किसी को कुछ ना करें, उनकी अपनी मर्जी है, वो जो चाहे करें, जिस तरह से अपने आप को प्रेजेंट करें, और एवरीबडी इज राइट टू एक्सप्रेस देयर सेल्फ. तो हमें तो हमेशा ये सिखाया गया था कि जो चीज़ गलत है उसको गलत कहो, लेकिन बच्चों को ये बात कैसे समझाई जाए कि ये चीज़ गलत है, आप इस सिंपैथी रखना अलग बात है, लेकिन उसको गलत कहना चाहिए, क्योंकि हमारे हिसाब से दो ही, या तो मर्द या औरतें हैं, और आप इस चीज़ को
इतना ज़्यादा कहना चाहिए कि आप इसको इतनी ज़्यादा अहमियत ना दीजिए, इसको इतना ज़्यादा आप फेवर ना देखते हैं ऐसे ना कि नहीं सही है, ये लोग भी सही है, इनके साथ भी वही सब यानी इनकी अपनी मर्जी है। मेरे ख्याल में आप इसको जितना लाइट लेंगे ये चीज़ उतनी कॉमन होती जाएगी।
ठीक है, आपका सवाल
भी आप सही कह रही है। देखिए लेकिन असल में प्रॉब्लम बच्चों की नहीं है, प्रॉब्लम हमारी अपनी है। झूठ, तसन्नो, बनावट, रियाकारी, मक्र, फरेब, ये इनको हम हिस्से में ले रहे हैं। हम इनसे ये तवक्को नहीं रख सकते कि ये मुस्तकबिल के मेहमान भी साहिब किरदार भी हों। अब आप ड्राइव कर रहे हैं, आपके आगे बहुत ही स्लो पे ड्राइवर जा रहा है, आपने फौरन ध्यान में ख्याल आया कि हो ना हो ये बच्चे फौरन कहेंगे डैड डोंट से दैट। तो हमारे अंदर जो है ये खुद खसलत है हमारे अंदर अपने कि हम डिस्क्रिमिनेट करते हैं, पाकिस्तान की हम बुराई करते हैं। आज़ादारी में आए तो मौलाना ने क्या 4 घंटे लगा दिए, मतलब कमी होगी, मातम में होगा, वो होगा। अब क्या हो गया कि बच्चे जो हैं वो हमसे भी प्रोग्रामिंग हमसे ले रहे हैं। तो हमने जब है घर में आके इसकी चुगली, उसकी बुराई, उसकी की, तो वो खींचते यू नो जो कुछ भी कर रहे हैं, दिस इज absurd, absolutely normal। लेकिन आपकी बात सही है, उनको सच और झूठ का बता देना। तो कहते हैं कि this is not what we are, this is not what we believe, क्योंकि हमारा मजहब जो है फितरत के तकाज़ों पे बेस करता है, और कोई चीज़ भी गैर फितरी हो, चाहे वो जिससे अफराद नस्ल ना हो, रिप्रोडक्टिव हो, आपकी साइकिल ना हो, वो चीज़ जो है वो फेक है, वो ट्रूथ नहीं है, राइट। तो आप उनको बायोलॉजिकल टर्म में उस पर बताएं इनडायरेक्टली। जैसे हमारे स्टूडेंट्स कभी कुछ लिख के लाते हैं, हम उनसे ये नहीं कहते ये क्या लिख लिया तुमने। मैं उनसे हमेशा ये कहता हूँ, मैं तुम्हारी जगह होता तो मैं ऐसे लिखता या ये कहता हूँ। तो हम उनको इनडायरेक्टली इस तरह से अप्रोच करें कि you know people can choose, yes you are right, they can choose whatever the way to live, but this is not what the live of our religion, our teaching is, our religion is based on nature, anything which is against the nature। देखिए हमारे यहाँ जो वैल्यूज है ना, वो चोरों की भी वैल्यूज होती है, डाकों की भी वैल्यूज होती है कि तुमने मेरे इलाके में चोरी नहीं करनी, मेरे इलाके में डाका नहीं डालना, तुमने मेरे इलाके में ड्रग्स नहीं बेचनी, ये वैल्यूज है। लेकिन ये प्रिंसिपली ड्रिवन नहीं है, प्रिंसिपल्स हैं वो लॉज ऑफ नेचर की तरह से हैं। आपने एक छड़ी का हिस्सा उठाया, दूसरा खुद ऊपर आ जाता है। आप एक 10 स्टोरी बिल्डिंग से छलांग लगाएं, आधे रास्ते में अपना माइंड चेंज नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि ग्रेविटी टेक्स ओवर। तो अगर आपने बच्चों की परवरिश प्रिंसिपल्स पे की है, तो वो जो पाकिस्तान में थे वो यहाँ पे भी होंगे, जो उस घर में है वो स्कूल में भी होंगे, और जो स्कूल में है तो वो पब्लिक में भी बच्चे वैसे ही बिहेव करेंगे। तो हमारे लिए लाइफ बच्चों की प्रिंसिपली बेस्ड हो, उनको मिक्स मैसेजिंग हम हर तरह से ना करें, क्योंकि उससे बच्चे कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं। बट यू नो एक पूरी कंट्री है, अगर जब इब्राहिम अलैहिस्सलाम आए वो यरूशलेम में रह गए थे, और हज़रत लूत अलैहिस्सलाम जो उनके भतीजे थे वो क्रॉस करके हाइफा से इलाक से वो जॉर्डन चले गए, वहाँ पे सारे के सारे लोग यही लोग थे। तो वो एक कल्चर, देखिए आपकी जो फीलिंग्स चेंज होती हैं तो आपकी थॉट्स चेंज होती हैं, जब थॉट्स चेंज होंगी तो आपका बिहेवियर चेंज होगा, जब बिहेवियर चेंज होगा तो आपकी फीलिंग्स फर्दर नर्चर होती हैं। तो ये बच्चों के जहन में जो फीलिंग आती है, ये मशरूम है, इनके जुल्म होता है, इनको डिस्क्रिमिनेट किया जाता है, इनसे नफरत की जाती है, और हमें जो है इसके खिलाफ खड़ा होना है, इसके लिए करना है। तो बच्चों की ऑटोमेटिकली जो फीलिंग्स चेंज होती हैं तो उनकी अपनी थॉट्स चेंज हो जाती हैं, जब उनकी अपनी थॉट्स चेंज होगी तो उनका बिहेवियर चेंज होगा। तो ये चीज़ एक लूप कॉन्स्टेंटली फील करती रहती है, और जैसे ही पारा बढ़ता चला जाता है ये आगे हाथ से निकल जाता है।
अक्सर जिस तरह से भी आपकी कैरेक्टर ट्रेनिंग जो है वो प्रिंसिपल ड्रिवन होती है।
एब्सोल्युटली हमारी लाइफ प्रिंसिपली ड्रिवन होनी चाहिए। देखिए मैं आपको अपने किस्सा सुनाता हूँ। मैं इंग्लैंड आया तो वेरी यंग, और हमारे जो अपार्टमेंट थे लड़कों का, फिर लड़कियों का, फिर लड़कों का, फिर लड़कियों का, यूनिवर्सिटी के ब्लॉक्स थे। तो उसमें जो लड़के 7-8 हमारे इसमें थे, उन्होंने कहा कि आज पार्टी करते हैं और सिर्फ लड़कियों को बुलाएंगे। अब वो उन्होंने पंच डाल के, विस्की डाल के, इसमें पता नहीं क्या क्या डाल दिया, और पंच में वो 40-50 लड़कियाँ और ये 5-6 लड़के। हमने यूनिवर्सिटी में ड्रग्स भी देखे थे, तो मैं तो जाकर अपने कमरे में घुस गया, तो 3-4 लड़कियाँ जो है वो जैसे ही मेरे कमरे में दाखिल हुई, मैंने खिड़की खोल के मैं भाग गया। मैं भाग के अपने दोस्त के पास चला गया। मैंने कहा यार वो तो वहाँ बड़ा बेहोशी हो रही है। तो वो मुझसे लड़ने लगा, कहने लगा खमीस मैं समझा तू मुझे भी लेने आया। तो अगले दिन वो खातून जो है वो मेरे अपार्टमेंट के बाहर खड़ी हुई थी फोन लेकर, तो वो कहने लगी कि why did you run away? You know, you were drunk, you could have taken advantage. मैंने से कहा you were drunk, but I wasn't drunk. तो ये बचपन की आपकी जो वैल्यूज आप में इंस्टिल की हैं, ये प्रिंसिपल्स हैं कि आप पाकिस्तान में हो या यहाँ पे हो, कोई भी आपको माहौल हो, ये आपको हमेशा बचा के ले जाता है।
Thank you very much, Dr. साथ हम आपके साथ काम करेंगे। आपका बहुत शुक्रिया। आपने